Husband 37M attempted to manipulate me 35F. I called his bluff. Now what? I 35F have been married to my husband 37M for 5 years and we have an 18mo daughter. We have generally had a good marriage, but have repeatedly had the same 2 arguments for 3+ years. The first argument is that I work full-time, pay 85% of our bills and do all of the cooking, cleaning, shopping, laundry, running of the household, etc. He also works full-time, but after work comes home and immediately takes his work clothes off, throws them on the couch in my living room and goes into the family room to watch YouTube. I have repeatedly asked for help and get the runaround. The second is that he has a small porn addiction and suffers from premature ejaculation. An issue in itself but not our main problem currently. The last week and a half or so, I have been running 80 miles an hour getting ready for the holiday this week. I was cleaning the house, washing the bedding in the guest room, cleaning the fridge, doing all the bits and pieces that you need to do to host family for Thanksgiving. I was also doing all of my daily things as well. For example, on a typical day, I wake up, make sure mine, and the baby's lunches are packed, she's dressed for daycare, my work bag is packed, drive to work. After work I drive to the daycare to pick up baby girl, often taking meetings via phone on the commute. Do any errands that need done, grocery, Costco, pharmacy, etc., come home, immediately breastfeed the baby, start dinner so we can eat once he's home, give the baby a bath, let her play while I clean off the table, do the dishes, clean the kitchen, tidy up, feed her again, get her to sleep and then finally take a shower myself. It's basic daily tasks, but I don't stop until 9 to 10 at night. Last week I asked again for help but was told that he needed the break because he is tired. I naturally told him that I never get a break and I'm tired too and need help with the house, and if he can't contribute half financially he can at least contribute half of the cleaning. He shut down and just gave me the silent treatment for 2 days, then asked me if I wanted to go to his mother's house with him and the baby. I said only if he wasn't going to ignore me the whole time. That was the match that lit the fuse. He exploded. Evidently I have done nothing but bitch for the last 3 years, he hates cleaning and isn't going to do it, that if him contributing is such a big deal then we should divorce. I asked him to explain what that looks like to him. He said I'll get an apartment and sign the house over to you, refinance it in your name. We'll split custody 50-50 and split her expenses 50-50 as well. He then stormed out of the house and went to his mother's until about 1 a.m. He again gave me the silent treatment for 2 days. The other day I asked him how his apartment hunting was going and he said what? I told him I thought he was right, I have been bitching about this for 3 years, I'm miserable and he's not helping make my life easier. That I agreed divorce is the best option and that I would rather separate as friends and be good cop rents than grow to hate him and feel stuck in a toxic marriage. He then said I only said that to scare you into shutting up. Basically he attempted to emotionally manipulate me to get his way. As someone who grew up in a toxic and abusive childhood, this immediately shut me down emotionally. Like I look at him and I feel nothing. He is trying now to get back in my good graces, bringing flowers, chocolates, and all it does is make me angrier. I need advice. Is the fact that he tried to manipulate me and admitted it a valid reason for me to just want to shut this down? Because I have to be honest, I'm tempted to ruin Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm just angry and reacting out of that or if I am truly at the end of my rope. Comments. Commenter 1. He's not just manipulating you, he's exploiting you. You're carrying the financial burden, all household responsibilities, childcare, and he tried to use divorce as a weapon when you asked for basic partnership. His admission that he was trying to scare you into shutting up shows he views your valid needs as an inconvenience to be silenced. You're already functioning as a single parent while bankrolling his lifestyle. The only difference is you have an adult dependent who throws his clothes on your couch and watches YouTube while you exhaust yourself. The flowers and chocolates now aren't remorse, they're panic because his emotional blackmail didn't work. You're not overreacting, you're finally seeing clearly. When someone tells you they'd rather divorce than contribute to their own household, and then admits they were just trying to scare you into compliance, believe that revelation. He's showing you he prioritizes his comfort over your well-being and will use emotional warfare to maintain it. You're not angry because of the manipulation attempt, you're angry because it exposed the fundamental disrespect at the core of your marriage. He contributes minimally financially, does nothing domestically, and when confronted, tries to weaponize divorce to silence you. The flowers aren't going to fix this level of betrayal. Commenter 2. He wants 50-50 custody yet cannot manage 50-50 parenting with the other parent in the home. If he's somehow granted 50% custody he is in for a massive shock. Commenter 3. Good. Let him learn. This man fucked around and it's find out time. Commenter 4. You've called a lawyer, right? You need to get the drop on him for filing before his mommy does it for him. And congratulations on your upcoming liberation from the sad freeloading limp dick you're married to. Reply, I have an appointment with one next week for a consult. And what makes me laugh is my SIL knows about the issue and 100% thinks his mom and dad are going to be angry with him. Evidently they have told him he needs to step up previously. Commenter 5. I'm telling you from experience, you are gonna feel amazing when you have ditched this arsehole. Coming home to a house that isn't used as a hotel by an overgrown child, not having to pander to his sulking, and just knowing you can raise your child in a healthy environment. They make you feel like a new person. Update. Hi y'all. It's been a while since I posted, but I wanted to let things play out and give you a full update. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you to all of you who responded and gave encouragement. You helped more than you know. I did it. I filed for divorce. Our divorce should be final mid-June. He fought it for a few months, but finally seems to see that I can't move on and I won't let him rug sweep it anymore. He is still talking about hoping for a future reconciliation, but I told him that honestly without massive amounts of therapy for both of us, I don't see much hope there. Honestly, once he accepted that I wasn't giving in and that the divorce was real, he was very agreeable to discussing terms and working with me on custody arrangements, housing, etc. That's not to say we didn't have our drama, Lord knows we did. Fortunately, nothing too physical towards me. He grabbed me a few times trying to force me to stay in a room to get yelled at, but I set him straight real quick there. His threats were mostly towards self-harm. The first time was back in February. He was still in denial that I had filed and was very angry about losing the best things in his life. He threatened to go downstairs and take his own life. Because I'm stubborn as the day is long and don't have the sense God gave a goose, I followed him down there. I ended up wrestling his gun away and locking myself and the toddler in the bedroom. I should have called the police. I still don't know why I didn't. Instead I called his brother and told him to come get him. They did, and the next day I took the gun, that was unloaded and never had ammo because he was manipulating me again, to his parents and said if that gun made another appearance in my home or around my child I would ensure he was never around her again. It hasn't been seen since. A few weeks later, on their birthday, toddler and STBX share a birthday, he jumped off my 2-story deck after my daughter's birthday party. I didn't see it. I came down the hall and our 2-year said Mama, Daddy fall. I walked outside and he was kneeling by my lawnmower, said he was fixing it. Obviously, my 2-year hasn't learned to lie yet. I text my friend and said I'm pretty sure he just jumped off the deck. He doesn't seem hurt but I don't care what to do. As I hit send I hear him on the deck talking to our kid. I looked out the door and he's leaning off the edge obviously about to jump again. I lost it. It probably wasn't the appropriate thing to say, and I probably am a terrible person for saying it, but it worked and I don't regret it. I told him, so help me God, if you jump off this deck and die, I will move and your family will likely only see her once a year. You jump off this deck and live and I guarantee you will never see her unsupervised again. You step back over that railing and get both feet on this deck right now, or I swear to God, I'll make sure of it. He stepped back on the deck pretty quickly. He of course wanted to then argue about how I am driving him to this. How he doesn't deserve to be left alone. I'm breaking his heart. I reminded him he spent the last almost 4 years now breaking my heart and spirit and I was done having this conversation. As I turned to walk away, this man grabbed my wrist to force me to turn around. I already had my phone in my hand and I never called 911 so fast. The police showed up and took him to the hospital for a psych evaluation. I was under the impression that a suicide attempt in this state required a 72-hour hold. They released him after 2 hours, suggesting he talk to a therapist. I didn't want to involve the police, I tried to avoid it, but I kind of wish I had involved them earlier. He has been much more docile and accepting since. No more grabbing, no more threats. We still argue, but at least the worst part seems to have disappeared. It helps that even his parents are telling him she called the cops on you, she's crazy, let her go. I'm fine with being labeled the crazy one. I've been called worse by better people. TLDR, little bit of drama, but everything is going good now and divorce should be final in mid-June. Send good vibes, thank you again. Y'all were the voice of reason I needed, and you have no idea how many times I read those comments when I needed encouragement and felt like I had no one in my corner. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad you are aiming to be free. But from reading that my heart and stomach plummeted. Especially when you said he is now more docile and accepting. This particular time is now the most dangerous for you and your daughter. He's unstable and has access to a gun. You need to insist he's never unsupervised around her. You need to stop being around him. I really hope I'm proven wrong here but everything is pointing to him escalating. Commenter 2. May be good to document all of these actions with your attorney. And that he be required to have supervised visitation for the foreseeable future, regardless of how he is acting now. He still doesn't sound mentally stable enough to be a sole parent during his time with your child, or beyond some other action such as abducting your kid. Sorry you've gone through all this. But I think your child's safety should be your paramount thoughts. Reply, absolutely. Have made sure everything is documented and ensured he is in fact seeing a therapist. Fortunately, his time with our kid happens with his parents present, as he is staying there for now. They might not like me very much right now, but I trust them. They have made it very clear that I'm still family to them. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my sister not to announce her pregnancy at my wedding because I was going to announce mine, but she did it anyway. I, 29F, got married 3 months ago to my amazing husband, 31M. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but my sister, 32F, managed to overshadow it in a way that I can't seem to move past. A little background, my husband and I had been trying for a baby for a while, and when we finally got that positive test, we were over the moon. We decided we would share the news with our family and friends at our wedding reception, nothing crazy, just a small, heartfelt moment during the speeches. Only my parents and my maid of honor knew about this plan. A few weeks before the wedding, my sister pulled me aside to tell me she was pregnant. I was genuinely happy for her, and we had a sweet moment together. Then she casually mentioned that she was planning to announce it at my wedding. I was shocked and told her, as kindly as I could, that I would prefer she didn't. I even explained why, because I was also pregnant and planning to share the news that day. I asked if she could wait just a little longer so the day could stay focused on the wedding. She seemed a bit annoyed but didn't argue much, so I thought that was the end of it. Well, fast forward to the reception, and guess what? Right after the speeches, she stands up, clinks her glass, and announces her pregnancy. The whole room erupts in cheers, and suddenly, my wedding turns into her pregnancy celebration. I was stunned. I didn't even get the chance to share my own news because it felt like I'd just be trying to one-up her. Later, when I confronted her, she acted like I was overreacting and said she just couldn't keep it in anymore. When I told her how hurt I was, she said I was selfish for wanting to control when people share their happiness. My parents think she was out of line but are telling me to let it go for the sake of family peace. But I can't seem to move on. Every time I think about my wedding, I feel this bitter pit in my stomach because she took away a moment that was special for me. She, on the other hand, thinks I'm being dramatic and says I should be happy for her instead of making everything about myself. So, AITA for not letting this go. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA I wouldn't move on. Every time she says you're making it about yourself, tell her since it was your wedding it should have been about you. She's the dramatic one that had to draw the attention to herself. If your mother tells you to let it go for the sake of the family, I'd tell her since that was not your sister's priority, why should it be yours? Frankly, I'd just cut her off. Who needs someone like that in their life? Reply. I want to cut her off, but that means going low contact with my family. Update. Hi again. First of all, thank you for the overwhelming support and validation. It really helped me feel a lot less crazy. So, a few people asked for an update, and well, things got petty. I'll admit it. I'm not proud of all of it, but I'm also not sorry. After the wedding drama, my relationship with my sister was icy at best. She kept acting like I was just being hormonal and selfish, and every time we spoke, she somehow turned herself into the victim. I finally decided if she thought I was selfish and dramatic, I might as well lean in just a little. A month later, my husband and I had a gender reveal party, low-key, just family and a few close friends. We did not invite my sister. She found out through our cousin's Instagram post and texted me something snarky like, "Wow, guess I'm not family now." I replied, "Well, I didn't want to risk you announcing something again and stealing the spotlight." Fair, right? But the real revenge came at our baby shower. I had custom cookies made that said, "We waited our turn." One of the decorations was a sign that said, "One special day deserves its own celebration." A few people laughed, a few looked uncomfortable, but I saw my sister read the cookie and go very quiet. She asked if the cookie was about her. I told her, if the shoe fits, and walked away. Now she's telling the family I'm the one being dramatic and petty. Ironic, no, but honestly, I don't care. I didn't ruin her wedding. She ruined mine. She can sit with that for a while. Also, my baby is due a week before hers. Guess who's going to be very publicly posting baby pics right as she's going into labor? Not saying I'll be timing it, but I'm not saying that either. Stories number 3. AITA for kicking my husband out over the comment he made about my kids at dinner. I, 36F, have 2 kids, Mia, 14F, and Liam, 16M, from a previous marriage. They have done ice dancing together ever since they were little. Yes, before anyone asks, it's normal in the sport. They're a strong match, similar in size, and work very well as a team. The routines are expressive and dynamic, but age-appropriate, nothing suggestive. My husband, Mark, 38M, and I have been together for almost 7 years. He's been in their lives since they were young, and they've always called him their stepdad. He used to be supportive, showing up to competitions, helping with rides, the usual. But over the last couple of years, his attitude started to shift for some reason. He started making weird comments about how close they are when they perform, stuff like how they're always wrapped around each other, or it's a little strange how intimate the choreography can look, sometimes within earshot of the kids. I shut that down hard every time. We've had full-blown arguments about it, and after the last time, he swore he'd stop bringing it up. Fast forward to a few nights ago. We had a couple of friends over for dinner. The kids were home and eating with us. One of our friends asked how skating was going, and the kids were talking about even though it's off-season, they're still training hard and keeping up with their practice. And then again, Mark went there by saying, yeah, they train hard, but it's still weird how into it they are. Like they're siblings and they're all over each other, it's a bit much. Mia looked like she wanted to disappear. Liam just went quiet and stared him down, clearly pissed. The whole table just went awkwardly silent aside from an uncomfortable laugh from our friends, until someone changed the subject. I just felt done, but I didn't make a scene right there and then. As soon as everyone left and we were alone, I confronted him. Told him I couldn't believe he would say something like that, especially in front of our friends and kids, after he promised he'd stop doing it. He tried to act like it was just one little comment, his opinion, and said I was being too sensitive again. I told him no, this isn't just a small thing, and I don't want him around me or the kids if he's going to act like this, and not even apologize for it. I told him to pack some bags and go. He's staying at his mom's house, and she called me, going off about me being dramatic, how Mark was just trying to express his concern, and that maybe deep down, I know it looks weird. I hung up on her. Meanwhile, my ex-husband heard about it from Mia and Liam and contacted me right away. He told me I did the right thing, and he has my back 100%. No hesitation. Mark has been texting and calling me, saying I blew things out of proportion and that I'm hurting the family over a throwaway comment. Now that I've had time to cool down, I'm wondering if I took things too far and could have done things differently. So, Aita for kicking him out. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my fiancé that if he expects me to contribute 50-50, we have to make some serious lifestyle changes. My 26F, fiancé, 26M, sat me down yesterday and gave me a long talk about how he feels like I don't contribute enough to the household, particularly in the financial sense. I was a bit caught off guard by this, but was willing to hear him out, since he wasn't wrong. He makes a lot more than I do, and we've always split bills accordingly, which ends up being about 80% him. I asked what he wanted me to pay now, and he was adamant about it being 50-50. I asked if everything was okay with his job, or if he needed to take fewer hours, and he wouldn't answer me. I honestly wouldn't have gotten upset if there seemed like an actual reason behind it, but he just said he'd been thinking about it a lot, over and over. Every time I asked what brought him to this conclusion, what was going on, and eventually he just said this is how it's going to be, take it or leave it. Those exact words, in response to literally everything I said. Full shutdown. No explanations. I told him that was fine, I'll take it, and then asked if he'd made a Zillow account yet, or expected me to. He looked confused, and asked why we would need a Zillow account. I explained that there's no way I can afford half rent on our current place, so we'll probably have to move into a one-bedroom apartment. He got mad and asked why I didn't have savings. I told him that I do, but I'm not paying rent out of my savings, because that's a terrible and unsustainable idea. I also began to go over what our new food budget would be, our new entertainment budget, and that we'd probably have to sell the cars and get one less expensive one because I can't afford half of the payments on an Audi and a Land Rover. Then I explained that date nights would probably have to be reduced too, and we could still do, like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, but I preferred Thursday nights because you get 2 orders of boneless wings for one. Basically, if he wants me to pay half, we're living within my means, not his anymore. He kind of agreed to it, but since then, he's been incredibly angry. He's not saying or doing anything, but it's like he's walking around the house in this cloud of pissed off. I sent him 6 Zillow listings, all of which he's called uninhabitable for various reasons, some of which I think were valid, others I disagree with. He's now saying that I'm being unfair and manipulative, and that he tried to come to me with a serious concern about our relationship and I'm making it impossible for him to talk to me, and bulldozing over him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA at all, and you are making perfect sense in my mind. If he wants 50-50, he needs to understand that your income is the limiting agent in this reaction. It does sound like he has something else going on, and I would mentally prepare for him to call the wedding off. This sounds like he is coming up with reasons to get rid of you in his mind, but he does not want to come off as the bad guy. Commenter 2. You make 120k as an engineer. I make 30k in retail. I am fine living a life where we spend the same amount, but I literally cannot keep up because he'd have to pull tens of thousands of dollars out of thin air. The only option to make this work is if we live like we both make 30k. NTA. The only options to give him what he wanted was spend less or drain savings and enter credit card debt. Update. Hi everyone. This got way bigger than intended, so I figured a follow-up was owed. So, last time I posted was Monday. Monday as a whole was spent just sorting through what I felt, and what to do next. There was a lot of silence and a lot of anger, and a lot of Reddit advice, some of which I found very insightful, some of which was less so. Also, some people think I made this up as part of a viral marketing sponsorship between Buffalo Wild Wings, Audi, and Zillow, which honestly would solve the money problems if true, but alas, is not the case. On Tuesday, after I got home from work, I sort of just walked up to him on the elliptical and explained as calmly as I could that I had questions, and if he actually wanted to marry me, he needed to be willing to answer them. I asked if he thought I was a gold digger, yes or no. He said yes. I told him that I wasn't willing to be in a relationship where I have to prove myself by sacrificing any sort of stability, and that led to a bit of a screaming match, and eventually, a confession. So it turns out we cannot afford anything we have right now. We are in serious credit card debt, the cars are both on the verge of being repossessed, and I did not know about any of this. He's been cutting corners on actual necessities, including psychiatric medication. That in combination with some comments from his family led him to some pretty dark places. My fiancé had a full breakdown and apologized for calling me a gold digger, which was nice to hear, but this whole thing had me pretty shaken up. I went to stay with a friend for a little bit. Yesterday, my fiancé and I did in fact go out to BWW and get the 2-for-1 boneless. We talked a lot. I'm still writing fiancé for now, and I really hope we can work through all of this. We talked about how to sell the cars, we don't particularly have a choice at this point, and about my income, his income, and the sort of life we want to have. If we do stay together, we'll be changing how we live a lot. We need to get out of debt, we need to get on our feet. I know some people are gonna say I'm being dumb for not immediately dropping all contact and giving up on the relationship, but I can't do that. I can't look at the guy I love, who went off his meds to try and make a good life for me, and think he's not worth sticking around for, at least to try. I don't know what the future looks like at all anymore though, and the wedding is very postponed at the moment. Sorry this wasn't a more fun update. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Watch your credit like a hawk home slice. While I understand that you want to make it work, there are a few things of note. It's absolutely critical to know exactly how the debt got that deep. It's not at all acceptable that he's been cutting corners on psychiatric medication. He was going to point the finger at you being in the wrong until you brought up leaving. His choices have left you both in debt. How much of an effort is he willing to make to help you both claw out? Commenter 2. You really need to take a hard look at this relationship, and how your future will look in it. Author's note. One day later, OOP made this very weird post where she lists the things she likes about her fiancé. I think this was a response to everyone telling her how awful her fiancé is. Extra. Pretty as fuck. This is the most physically attractive man I have ever met. Literal golden curls like a Da Vinci painting, crystal blue eyes, just so pretty it gives me butterflies whenever he looks at me sometimes. Best I've ever had in bed. Very good at just about anything, actually likes going down on me, and makes me see stars. I have never been in a relationship that was as sexually satisfying as this one, and there's no way I'm going back after this. His voice is very sexy. Especially when he speaks Russian. He also speaks French, Spanish, and apparently Latin. But Russian is my favorite. Got a vasectomy so I could go off birth control. He was the one to suggest it, because he saw how much I hated those stupid pills, and he was willing to get an actual surgery for me, full of little surprises and adventures. He's always doing things like getting me wildflowers, making my favorite breakfast before I wake up, or even planning little day adventures for us to go on together. Life is never mundane because he's always making it special. Actually does housework. Does not need to be asked to do housework. He actually does more of the cleaning than I do, and I cook most of the meals, because he thinks that sweeping and mopping floors is meditative. I do not know how I got this lucky on this one. Plays guitar. Really, really well. It's very attractive, can physically pick me up and carry me around and does this often. I am not a small woman, to be clear. This is legitimately impressive and makes me feel so nice. Reads. I can actually talk about books. With him. You have no idea how rare this is, especially to find a guy who'll read anything I say. Oh, I like this. You do not comprehend the feeling of mentioning offhandedly that you're reading Midnight Sun and having him come to you the next day after spending all night reading so that you could talk about it together until you live it. Has shown me that there is actual romance in life and that I deserve more than a flat boring relationship devoid of orgasms or dancing in the rain or music. He brought real passion and fun and aliveness into my life, and in a world where that's treated as an unrealistic fantasy for most women, he's shown me that I deserve something unrealistic. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He may be the first man to give you romance, passion, and fun, but he's not the only one who can. These things are great right now, but long-term stability depends on much more important factors. Financial problems are a leading cause of divorce because once the fun stage is over, you're simply faced with the crushing reality. If you do stay with him despite all advice, please keep an eye on your bank accounts, credit score, and him in general. Don't marry him unless something changes in a major way, cause if you take on his debts you'll be stuck. Commenter 2. It's a little concerning that your top 3 are physical attributes, plus number 8, and not personality traits. Looks fade, people get injured, they age and physically change. If the biggest things you like about him are how he looks, how he does in bed, and that he can pick you up, you're not setting yourself up for success. One car accident, one work injury, hell even just 5 or 10 years and half your list could be out. I'm also really curious about the vasectomy thing. You say he did it for you, but are you sure he didn't do it for him so he won't end up with a baby on the side? All the men I know who have had vasectomies had them after they were married and had at least one child. This just rings alarm bells for me. Update. We are out of debt. It feels so good to say that and have it be true, but as of 3 days ago, everything is finally paid off and we've made our way back onto solid ground. Almost 2 years ago, I made a post here about my 28F fiancé, 28M, wanting to split things 50-50, and my offer of compromising on lifestyle changes. As it turned out, he was off his meds and had managed to get himself into some serious debt, a little under $100K, trying to provide a life that we could not afford on a combined $155K a year. Things were rough. I almost left him a few times. But we have finally made it through to the other side. I handle the finances. 100% of the finances. I give him a budget for buying coffee. It wasn't fun, but in exchange he started doing more of the housework, so it evens out. We moved from our over-the-top apartment into a shared living situation, which, while not ideal, was leagues better than my initial plan of getting a trailer. We have roommates, but they're on another floor, so it's not too bad, and we have our own bathroom, which was my only real stipulation. We've lived like we're a $70K a year couple, doing actual 50-50 finances, and every extra penny he's made has gone directly to paying off the debt. We sold the cars, obviously. Traded them in for a nice used Ford Maverick and a Vespa. That helped a lot. There have been no more lavish vacations or over-the-top restaurants with $500 price tags. It was rough for my fiancé at first. He's always been very much a rich boy, and I think losing that as an identity was difficult for him. That being said, he's gotten so creative lately, it's been amazing to see. He will make me things if he can't buy me things, and we've started cooking together instead of having me do almost all of it. Our room is covered in the things he's made for me, and it's really lovely. We're still in love. We're still going strong. And we can finally start actually planning our wedding again. We're gonna get our own place first, but the wedding is next on the list after that. I'm so glad that we stuck with this, and being on the other side is the greatest feeling in the world. Thank you to everyone who offered advice. Love, I don't know how things would have ended up if I hadn't had the courage of my convictions, and I'm genuinely grateful to those who directed me to Dave Ramsey and Caleb Hammer. Y'all are awesome. TLDR, we made it out and are officially debt-free. Comments. Commenter 1. Hold on here. Let me get this straight. So, you communicated about all the hard stuff, right? And communicated some more. Then you made a plan. And made long-term sacrifices to enact said plan. Then you continued to communicate and did all the hard work over a couple of years to meet your goals. What? I'm so confused. Is this even Reddit? P.S. Kudos to you and your partner. I'm impressed. Reply, we did as a matter of fact do all of the above. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it in the end. Commenter 2. This is kind of why Reddit leaps to just leave them much of the time. People don't want to listen and do the work the way you two did. I'm so proud of you both. It reminds me of when my doctor was telling me he had to start me on something for cholesterol. I listened, went home, and made lifestyle changes. I changed what I ate, changed up my exercise routine, walked more, and within a month he was able to take me off Lipitor. He was shocked. I told him about the changes and he started laughing. That's when he told me that is usually the best step, but people so frequently won't do it that he just went straight to the medication option. Congratulations on being debt-free, soon to be living by yourselves, and for your inevitable wedding. I'd say you two don't just deserve it, but that you've earned it. One last thing to mention, in your other writings you've mentioned the kind of dark way that his family was able to get into his head. Any progress on that front, ideally? Especially now that you're back on track towards them becoming your in-laws in the somewhat near future. Reply, oh, we don't get along but we're civil because we all love my fiancé and we all want him to be happy. We will never do Sunday dinners as a family or anything, but they accept I'm good for him and have thanked me privately a few times for helping him out of debt. Commenter 3. That is so great to hear. Congratulations on the hard work. You should be proud of yourself. And there must be real love between you if you worked through it together. I am so happy for you. Reply, there's a lot of love here. He's my person, you know. I genuinely feel like the luckiest girl in the world when I'm around him, and God knows he loves me to the moon and back. Commenter 4. This is a massive green flag on how you all worked through this. Just validation that you all can make it through a marriage long term. A lot of people can't. You'll go through other trials like this in your marriage and you both handled it so well. Congrats to the future wedding. Reply, thank you. It was not the easiest thing in the world, but hey, nothing worth doing is gonna be easy all the time, right? Stories number 5. Aita for telling my fiancé I won't help pay the mortgage. I, 29F and my fiancé 30M have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020 and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up and my grandma offered for us to move in with her so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown the idea of going to school out there and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiancé paid for it and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple semesters. My fiancé has been making $90K a year for the past couple years and $70K when we first moved in. He saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school and we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for a past couple months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting but afterwards I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership and if he just wants his own place fine but I'm not paying for it. He called me a BTCH saying that he paid for everything for the past few years including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare and that ended up saving us money since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care and I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So Aita for refusing to pay the mortgage. ETA, originally we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school so I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiancé and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total costed $17,000. Across 5 years. That's $3,400 a year on average. Sum of comments. Commenter, NTA if your name isn't on the deed, don't pay the mortgage. Honestly, I'd debate moving into a house that was just his and then getting married. If he wants help with the mortgage, then he has to accept that you will also own the house. Reply, this was the original agreement. This is the first I've heard of me not being on the deed or mortgage. Commenter, NTA. He got free rent and free childcare thanks to your family which allowed him to save that money. If your name isn't on that house you shouldn't put a dime into it. Reply, I'm honestly rethinking getting married ATP. This feels so out of left field he's literally never treated me this way before. I thought going to school and taking care of our son while not having to pay rent would have been an equal trade to him being able to save money honestly. Commenter, info can you guys not sign a contract where he owns 70% of the equity and you 30%? He puts down 40% the remaining 60% is split between both of you and you both pay the mortgage. He is an AH for how he spoke to you. Reply, it's not that I'm against doing something like this but it feels like he's already thinking of screwing me in a divorce and we're not even married. More on rent. This My schooling costed $3,400 a year on average. We were paying about $2,000 a month in rent. Rent has only gone up since then, but just off paying for my school instead of rent he saved over $20K a year. Not to mention daycare costs in our area. We were looking at $2,000 a month full-time for an infant and about $1,600 as a toddler. If I worked and went to school at the same time the entirety of my income, I was only making about $2,500 a month before I got let go, would have gone towards daycare and school. I would have broken even and we would have been no better off. Commenter, how do you have BSN and it only costs $17,000? A bachelor's is $50,000 easy. I'm sorry but I cannot take your story at a 100% face value. Reply, I had a scholarship and Pell Grant and went to community college that offered a bridge program from RN to BSN. Update post 1. So first thank you to everyone who commented, a lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those who weren't I got to see a perspective of how my fiancé might be feeling so thank you for that too. Although some of you were extremely misogynistic. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiancé said he'd pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship so he ended up only having to pay, on average, $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiancé was going to do, she said this. For the update, I told my fiancé we needed to talk about this arrangement and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair but he's now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money so the house should be his and his alone until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he'd consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down and we'd split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while also giving me equity I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income, not sure if he'd even be approved for the mortgage on his own tbh. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no. That we didn't need therapy and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant, he listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about, he treated me with the utmost respect, he was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it'd hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. Some of OOP's comments. We do have separate accounts thankfully. He'll have zero access to my money once I start my job in a couple weeks. To a misogynistic comment but I liked response. How about he was able to save over $100K just by not having to pay rent, childcare, or utilities for 5 years. He would have had to pay all that and I'd be making less money had he not paid for my schooling and gotten a free place to stay with my grandma. Take your misogyny elsewhere. Commenter, part of a very long comment, it does sound like he's been red-pilled and joined the mesosphere at some point. Reply, thank you. I'm going to see if I can find any evidence of him consuming mesosphere content. I think you might be right. There has been other signs now that I look back. I cannot and will not stay with someone who's been red-pilled. For the sake of my child, I think either way he'll be able to buy a house but the one we were looking at was really nice, he wouldn't get one that nice by himself. That's for sure. Update post 2. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me I'm not alone in this and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision to not pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed, thank you. Anyways, tonight he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update. So I told him my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused, again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it, called me a bitch and a gold digger and told me I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from, he said I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me, for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere red pill content, you were right. Sure enough, I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit podcast, safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money, and he was buying a house. He also said, on more than one occasion, he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recently, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. Sum of comments. Commenter, welp, based on that rant, I guess you're single again. Do not take him back. Consider it a bullet dodged on the marriage front, and keep all of those texts and voicemails for a protective order plus the custody battle. Reply, you've guessed correctly. I cannot and will not get over this. Top commenter, keep the voicemails and messages he sends. You may need them. Get ready to go to court to custody and child support. Do not be alone with this man. Edit, Grandma is awesome. If he comes back and is yelling and acting up, call the cops. Reply, unfortunately I have a friend who went through something similar with her husband, although his problem was porn addiction, so I know the drill. She said to keep and document everything. My grandma's friend's son is a family lawyer and we're him going to call tomorrow. Editor's note, because I know it will come up in the comments, yes, it can be common to know a friend of a friend lawyer. I personally am related to, am friends with, acquainted with, or am at least friends on Facebook with 8 different lawyers lol. Commenter, your life is not a shit show. Imagine if you moved into that house, paid for a few years and actually married him. That would be a colossal shit show. I'm so sorry you are going through this, but you found out before taking these next big steps. You have your degree, family support and your kid. You will be fine. Please talk to a good lawyer. Custody, child support and save and document everything. Reply, thank you, you're right. It could have been a whole hell of a lot worse lol. Commenter, I'm sad for you but at the same time super happy you found all this about his true self before getting married and stuff. Now you can move on with your life. Hopefully he will be there for the kids, but please leave this man and never take him back. Reply, I don't plan to take him back. I can't imagine showing my kid this example of love. To a longer comment but with multiple questions. I've seen a few comments like this, so I'm going to address a few things. Before I went to school we had discussions in length about what was going to happen with our relationship financially. We had agreed that while he paid for school, my grandma would not charge us rent. If I hadn't gone to school she wanted us to move out. The money he saved was over $100K. That would have easily covered just rent if we were to have had our own place. His money was supposed to be money for our family. I tried suggesting a compromise that some people came up with on my initial post. He didn't like the suggestion because he didn't want me to have any ownership in the house I'd be paying for too. He didn't want to pay for the mortgage by himself either. The reason I didn't work is because my grandma said she wouldn't watch out child that much. As it stood with me going to class she watched him for max 3 hours a day during the week. So we would have had to pay for daycare to cover my work and school hours. This would have had to be full-time combined. It would have costed the entirety of what I'd make to pay for school and daycare. We, my ex and I, decided it'd be better for me and our child if I didn't work and saved the daycare cost. His only contribution he did for the entirety of living with my grandma was my college, $3,400 a year, sometimes groceries, myself or my grandma had to cook for him still, and occasionally doing dishes and watching his child. I did 90% of the childcare and about 60% of the household chores. Grandma did about 35%. My schooling doesn't only benefit me, it benefits our child. And if we're being 100% honest, it benefits him too because the more I am making the less he'll have to pay in child support. Stories number 6. You want me to be on time? Okay, down to the minute. The timekeeping system at my job runs on a 15-minute increment schedule. Basically, if you clock in during the first 7 minutes of the increment, it rounds you backward to the start of that segment. If you're in the last 7 minutes, it rounds you forward to the end of the segment. Example, you clock out at 4:52. Congrats, the system says you left at 4:45. Now, if you clock in and out multiple times a day, like for lunch, that's 4 punches, and potentially up to 28 minutes lost or gained depending on where you land in those increments. Shortly after I started, I began getting flooded with emails about being short a few minutes on my timesheet and was told I had to submit PTO, even though I worked full 8-hour days, sometimes more. It didn't matter that I was physically at work, if the system said I was short, I had to burn time off. So I started paying attention. Really close attention. Here's the twist, my employer doesn't pay overtime in cash, but they do give you 1.5x time off if you earn it. So 1 hour of OT equals 1.5 hours of PTO. With some strategic clocking in and out, always landing on the helpful side of the 15-minute window, I've gotten good at squeezing out those 28 minutes extra a day. That adds up to 140 minutes, 2 hours 20 minutes, of overtime a week, which, when converted at 1.5x, becomes 3.5 hours of PTO every week. All for doing exactly what they asked, watching the clock very closely. Thanks for the free time off. Stories number 7. Aita for publicly humiliating my boyfriend after finding out he was cheating on me with a minor. Hi again. I didn't expect my post to get that much attention. Thank you to everyone who commented, messaged, and shared support. Here's what's happened since. I'm safe. I moved out the night after the party. I'm currently staying with a close friend who's been my rock through this. I brought my dog with me, yes, legally he's registered under my name, thank God, and we're both okay, though I haven't slept more than a few hours at a time. It's like my brain can't shut off. I went to the police. I gathered everything and I sat with a detective and told them it all. They confirmed what I feared but needed to hear, that what he did absolutely qualifies as soliciting a minor and sending explicit content to someone underage. This is being investigated as a criminal case. Many of you were concerned if I had contacted the girl's mother. I found her through the girl's Instagram. She had read the message, and from what she told me, her daughter had been hiding everything. Her mom was horrified, heartbroken, and incredibly grateful I said something. She's now involved with the police as well. I forwarded all of my evidence directly to her and the detective handling the case. Her daughter is safe, and I've stayed respectful of their privacy. She's just a kid. She didn't deserve any of this. As for him, he's been telling people I framed him, that I faked the messages, and even accused me of being jealous of a younger woman. Disgusting. He tried to call me from burner numbers, but I've blocked everything. The police advised me to keep all records of contact attempts. His mother even had the audacity to message me again, this time asking me not to destroy his life over a mistake. Emotionally, I'm still unraveling this. I've started therapy because the betrayal runs deeper than I realized. I loved this man. I thought I was going to marry him. And meanwhile, he was abusing a child and gaslighting me into silence. But I'm proud I didn't stay quiet. I'm proud I stood up, at the party, to the police, to her mother. Thanks again for reading and for giving me strength when I was starting to question myself. Stories number 8. Aita for showing up to Mother's Day when my sister-in-law warned me she would make a scene if I did. My sister-in-law, Cleo, tried to tell me that nobody wanted me around for Mother's Day. She insisted I drop off my husband, her brother, and if I came with him, she would make it everyone's problem. My husband, Ryan, said that he wanted me to be there as well, and he knew my MIL would also want that. Ryan is aware of my conflict with Cleo, as he was dragged into it. He is disabled, and she believes she needs to protect him from me. It stems from her not approving of our open marriage and not trusting Ryan's lived experience. She tried to confront me over it and ended up looking foolish. I'm sure it's partially a bruised ego. Well, Cleo told me that I'd better not show up and ruin everyone's day. I have a good relationship with my mother-in-law, and I made her a little stained glass piece of lilacs, her favorite flower. My plan was to arrive with Ryan, seek out MIL to give her the gift, and make sure that she did want me there. I'd leave if she didn't. It's her day, not Cleo's. We showed up, MIL was very happy to see us, hugged us both and brought us inside. I gave her my gift, she loved it and immediately put it up in her kitchen window. Cleo cornered me and asked me why I'd shown up when she clearly told me not to come, and said that MIL deserved a nice time with her children without interlopers. My phrasing, hers was more colorful. She continued to dig at me to the point that MIL asked her why. Cleo said that she'd warned me not to come. MIL asked Cleo to knock it off. Cleo doubled down and said that I am the problem, not her. MIL more firmly told her to knock it off, and whatever is going on between us, it's just between us. Cleo became very angry about that, grabbed her purse and left. The rest of us relaxed, but the vibe shifted. I feel terrible about putting a dark cloud over Mother's Day. Ryan said that it's okay, Cleo was the one with the issue and she is alienating the family by thinking she knows best. He said he would try to talk to her again, but last time he tried, she wouldn't listen. The next day, Cleo sent me several long messages that can be summed up with "I do not trust you, and I will prove to everyone that you are no good, and you ruined Mother's Day." Was I really the wrong party in this situation for showing up, knowing Cleo would say or do something? I mean, she did warn me, and then I showed up anyway. Even if she was the one to leave in the end, Cleo is her daughter, not me. Stories number 9. Aita for telling my parents they were deserved to be kicked out of my sister's wedding. So, my 37F, brother Mike 35M, is a knob. Always has been and always will be. He has been babied to the point of uselessness by our mom and dad, and that's made him an entitled slob. When he was younger he showed promise playing rugby, which had my mom and dad believing he was gonna be a superstar. The problem was though that he never had the work ethic to fully fulfill his potential. However, this meant that he was the golden boy of the family and he could do wrong in my parents' eyes. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids making up lies, but he was an even bigger bully at home to our younger sister Kelly 31F. He would constantly prank her. Which basically meant he would do anything he could embarrass her, including things like pulling her dress up in front of the whole family at a wedding when she was 15. Mom and dad just said it was siblings being siblings, but the rest of the family were mortified by his behavior. I did try and stick up for my sister and it worked to a certain extent, but after I went away to uni, there wasn't much I could do as mom and dad just don't listen to anyone. It got so bad that when she was 18, my sister gave up going to her dream university, St. Andrews, and instead moved to London to go to the Imperial College London. This was a huge shock to all of us as she had been talking about St. Andrews since she started high school at 11. When I asked why, she said that St. Andrews was too close to home and she would be expected to go back home more often, but if she went to London she would only have to go home for Christmas. This broke my heart. After she left, she did exactly that. The only time she was home was Christmas and when I got married. This really annoyed mom and dad as they said she was abandoning the family. I kept my mouth shut and just let them whine occasionally as I didn't want an argument. After graduating from uni my parents expected her to move back home, but she didn't. She got a job working in southern England and stayed down there. We are from Scotland for reference. 6 years ago, Kelly met a great guy, Jake 30M. The day she met him she called me gushing about him and I've honestly never heard her speak about anyone the way she does him. I've met him several times when I've gone down to visit Kelly and he's great. Good looking, funny, great job, his family are lovely and most importantly, he treats Kelly like she hung the moon. It's very cute. After she met him, she cut down how much she came home even more as she spent the first Christmas with his family and then the pandemic happened so she ended up not coming home for 3 years. Her first Christmas home Mike started his usual bullshit, trying to be their center of attention. When it didn't work out as well as he wanted, as most of the family were more interested in getting to know Jake, he then tried to prank Kelly. He got a big bowl of water and was going to pour it over her. Jake saw what was happening and stepped in front of Kelly telling Mike to not even think about it. Side note, Jake is 6'3" and has been doing martial arts since he was 4, so he can be very intimidating when needed. Mom and dad tried to play it off as a harmless prank, but Jake was having none of it. Mike started whining about it just being a prank and Jake told him that if he pranked Kelly one more time, he would prank Jake by putting his foot up his arse and his fist down his throat. Kelly and Jake left about an hour later, but after that Mike, Mom and Dad all had an issue with Jake. Kelly hasn't been back home since. That leads us to now, Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out invites in February for August. However, they didn't invite Mike. Mom and Dad are obviously incensed by this and had a huge argument with Kelly. They threatened not to go, and Kelly just said no problem she would get Granddad to walk her down the aisle. I went around to their house on Saturday with my kids. Immediately my mom started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I sat and listened for a while before I'd had enough. I asked her what she actually expected. Her and Dad have allowed Mike to be the golden child and get away with everything. Because of that, he can't keep a relationship, due to him thinking everyone should do everything for him. He can't hold down a job because every job is beneath him and he's still living at home with zero prospects in life. The man-child is a bully who I don't trust to be around my children unsupervised. He bullied Kelly for most of her teen years and her only escape was to move over 400 miles away and never come home. My mom got very quiet and then asked me to leave. A few hours later my dad called going mad because I'd upset my mom and was taking the side of an ungrateful little girl instead of my parents who gave me everything. This started a huge argument between me and him where I told him he'd been a crap dad to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I've just had enough, but now I've got extended family members telling me I've gone too far as my mom is barely speaking to anyone and keeps crying. My granddad said it was about time I told them off, but my grandma is upset by all the arguing. So Ada for telling my parents that they sucked a parents and deserve to be kicked out of my sister's wedding. Stories number 10. Am I overreacting for wanting to end a 9-year relationship over an unsigned card? My birthday was on the 12th, I just turned 29. For context, I normally don't care about my birthdays because they are always extremely disappointing. Family never makes a big deal about my birthday as opposed to my siblings, it always gets a shared celebration with Mother's Day. I'm not a mom, I usually buy my own birthday cake, etc. I just have never felt important on my day. However, my partner knows this. He knows it hurts my feelings that I'm never celebrated. I've shared this with him time and time again. This birthday, I called off work, as did he, and I decided I wanted a home-cooked meal. He doesn't know how to cook, and won't fucking learn, so I had to be the one to make it. I realized as I was making dinner that I was out of corn, and asked him to go up to the store to grab some. When he came back, he had a birthday card, and was like, sorry, I didn't have a pen. Mind you, we have a ton of pens at home. He definitely could have grabbed one real quick without me knowing. He tried to hand me a birthday card that wasn't even signed. I told him I was not about to accept a birthday card from him, without him at least signing it. He ended up writing something in it and signing it, but only after I asked him to. I feel like I do everything for this man. I get our doctor's appointments together, I juggle the bills and budget for us, I got us a new car, I am always the one to find out if something is wrong with the apartment or car because he doesn't fucking pay attention, I do all of the grocery shopping, I remember all the birthdays, I am the one to get his parents Christmas and birthday gifts, etc. I have to remind him to tell them happy birthday. All of the stress is on me and has been for 9 years. Every time I bring it up all he says is sorry honey and doesn't do anything actively to fix the issue. I feel like I'm not being heard, or cared for. I've been so stressed out, my periods are becoming irregular, my hair is thinning, and my brain is foggy. He is 30 years old and we are engaged. He says he appreciates me, but never shows it. I feel like the only adult, and the fact that he tried to give me a blank card really felt like my last straw. Like really? That's all I'm worth to you is a blank card. I catch myself thinking about how I wouldn't even be in a relationship if I had somewhere to go with my dog. This doesn't feel like a kind of life I want to live anymore. I feel like a mother instead of a partner. My entire life I've been in fight or flight, having to be the resourceful and responsible one. I can't even have a moment of silence where I'm not thinking about responsibilities to keep us afloat. I'm just drained. Stories number 11. Aita for refusing to let my 2 close friends sleep over at my place after they lied to me about their plans. So, I, teenage girl, have 2 really good friends. One is a close friend, the other is my best friend since literally before we could talk. We've been inseparable since we were 1 year old. Recently, though, she's been spending a lot more time with this other close friend. I've been feeling kinda left out and honestly, a bit jealous, but I've been trying not to let it get to me too much. Today, both of them asked if they could crash at my place tonight. They made it sound like they just wanted to hang out outside and needed a place to sleep because they couldn't stay at each other's houses. I joked, but also kind of meant it, that it felt like they were just using me for a bed, since it seemed like the plan was just the 2 of them hanging out without me, and now suddenly I'm useful because I have a room. Later, one of them called me and admitted they were actually going to a house party tonight and didn't want to go home afterward in that state, so they needed a place to sleep, again, mine. They hadn't told me about the party at all, hadn't invited me, and outright lied about what they were doing earlier. That stung. What hurt more is that I only found out today that my best friend started smoking recently, something she always said she'd never do, especially since we all agreed we were against it. She didn't tell me, but she told this other girl. It feels like she's changed, and I'm being left out of the loop. So when they asked to stay over, I said no. I don't want to feel used, and it hurt that they weren't honest with me. But now I'm wondering if I'm being too sensitive or petty about this. Like, maybe I should have just let them stay, maybe I'm overreacting. Aita for saying no and feeling hurt that they lied to me and left me out. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA, not sure how old you are, but I bet your mom and dad wouldn't be too pleased either for a couple drunk, smoke stinking girls to come stay. Reply, they asked me if they could sneak in at night so my mom wouldn't know, but still. I am 14 BTW. Why wasn't OOP invited to the party? Reply, I don't know. The party is at the house of a girl that used to go to school with me and one of those friend, in her grade not mine, and the other friend doesn't even know her. Commenter 2, your NTA. It's your house and choice. I get why you feel left out, but they are your friends and have been for a while. How would you feel if the roles were reversed? That you and one of them were doing something without the other, and, you get the idea. I don't know that I'd end the friendships over something like this as long as they don't keep excluding you, because then, it would seem, they would have moved on from you. Reply, I do not always feel excluded, but for example we went on a trip for 1 week together and they were always together and always wanting to do stuff just the two of them together like cooking or stuff like that. Also on one day they switched phone and posted each other on the other's Instagram but like 20 times and I wasn't in one story, I just sat beside them and watched. Also they are meeting each other way more than before and way more than me with any of them. They are going to them gym together too and never once asked me if I wanted to come with, even though I said that I wanted to come with them next time, and it's not because I don't have a membership, because one of the girls doesn't either. Commenter 3, NTA, you did what was right for you and it's still right for you even if it upsets them. Commenter 4, good for you. It may be rough going for a bit but standing up for yourself is good in the long run. Find some way to occupy yourself. A true friend will respect you, eventually, and come around. You may find that you lose some but gain another. Good luck. Update. Thanks to everyone who responded. I really appreciated the outside perspective because I felt like I was starting to gaslight myself. So after I told them they couldn't sleep at my place, I honestly thought that would be the end of it. I figured they'd find somewhere else to stay and that would be that. But nope. Around 1 a.m., they started calling me non-stop, like 10 or 15 times. I texted back and said I couldn't talk because I was watching TV with my mom, and she was still half awake. Just to be clear, there was no way they could have snuck in without her noticing, and I didn't want to deal with that. Then one of them started sending voice messages and texting me again, saying stuff like, "Please, can we come now?" And then basically guilt-tripping me, saying they'd have to sleep at a random bus stop in the cold if I didn't let them in. So I replied something like, "You lied to me about just walking around at night, then I find out you're going to a party without even telling me or asking if I wanted to come. Now you expect to crash at my place. That feels like I'm just your backup plan. I'm not a hotel. I don't want trouble with my mom because you're showing up in the middle of the night. I already told you no. If you didn't sort out another place to sleep, that's not my fault. Please just go home." Her reply, "Yeah but bro you weren't invited, lol bro chill then NVMIG," which honestly just confirmed how little she cared about how I felt. No apology, no acknowledgement, just brushing it off. That's the update. Relevant comments. Commenter, should have just asked your mom, that way they have somewhere safe to stay but also still get in trouble for going out and partying. I hope they weren't taken advantage of being drunk teens and all that. Reply, they specifically told me not to ask my mom and to just leave a window open so they could climb in. Why was there a party on a weekday? Reply, we don't have school today because we live in Germany and today is the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War and that's a holiday here. Commenter 2, welp now you know they aren't your friends. Don't bother with them again. Commenter 3, look for new and better friends, a true friend wouldn't use you like this. Stories number 12. Aita for moving out of my dad's house because his girlfriend and her kid were moving in. 18M but will be 19 in a month, moved out of my dad's house last month. It wasn't planned long term. It actually went against what my dad and I had talked about. But I moved out because he was moving in his girlfriend and her kid. And I don't like his girlfriend. Dad raised me on his own. He and my mom broke up when I was 5 months old and she stopped being in my life. My dad first met his girlfriend when I was 6. They dated on and off for the last 12 years. They never lived together before and they were never together for this long either, 2 years. But over the years she pissed me off a lot and made me wish he'd settled down with someone else. This isn't a thing of me not liking anyone Dad dated. He was with someone else when I was 14 and I liked her a lot. This is more about this specific girlfriend than me not wanting Dad with anyone. I first started to dislike her when I was 8 and she told me she was going to take me to see my mom. She got all riled up because Dad and I had seen Mom a few days before and my mom went up to Dad to yell at him for trying to get child support out of her. She ignored me completely and told Dad she didn't want her past mistakes to ruin her future. I was saying how I never wanted to see Mom again and so Dad's girlfriend decided she'd take me to see her. My dad shut that down hard. His girlfriend said my mom needed to confront that I'm her kid. It felt like Dad's girlfriend didn't care what I wanted or how that would hurt me, and even though she later apologized it felt forced and like she was like fine whatever sorry. But it made me see her differently. She and Dad broke up not so long after that. She still brings up Mom more than I would like when she and my dad are together. I resist the urge to tell her to shut the hell up. Half the time I expect her to go behind our backs and try to get Mom involved. When I was like 10 or 11 she got kicked out of the coding classes I was taking and almost had the cops called. Dad had asked her to pick me up. She needed her ID but she forgot it so the class organizer couldn't let her take me, and instead of calling Dad she started a fight about it and started screaming for me to grab my stuff and go. The organizer said even if I wanted to go with her, she needed ID before she could let me go. They were just about to call the cops when she said she'd call Dad and then he picked me up instead. It was late when he came and she was angry for days after that. I was so embarrassed and some of the kids made fun of me when it was going down. She didn't care and I remember her rolling her eyes when I said she was the reason the kids were making fun of me. Another thing that has really pissed me off about her, and this is a reoccurring issue, is when she sees me on the phone and snaps her fingers in my face. This would happen when I was on the phone when she came over. I was normally talking to family. Either my great-grandma who was in a nursing home, she died 8 months ago, or out-of-state family. She expected me to end any call and pay attention to her when she came over. She didn't like that I'd be busy talking to family. If Dad was there he'd say to leave me be, but she did it so many times. She'd even come and track me down in my bedroom and start snapping her fingers in my face. There's other stuff that has built up over time and most of it is more like petty stuff. But I really don't like her anymore. The last time my dad and her broke up she got pregnant with another guy's kid. When her and Dad got back together they decided to try and make it work. I was hoping they wouldn't. I know that might sound bad but I'd take so many other people over her. But Dad loves her. And when he told me they were moving in last month I told him I'd find somewhere else to live. Dad told me I didn't have to and in the 2 days it took me to figure something out he tried to stop me. He told me I didn't need to and I wasn't going to be kicked out. They were just coming to live with us. I told him I couldn't live with his girlfriend and I wasn't going to force myself to. I told him I wasn't stopping him from moving them in but I was moving myself out before that happened. Things between me and Dad have been tense since I moved out. His girlfriend's offended that I moved out because they were moving in and she tried to give me a piece of her mind or whatever. I ignored her. She told me I better be there nearly every day to make up for it but I haven't been to Dad's house once. I made plans to do stuff with him but any family dinner invites I don't accept. Dad told me it was extreme to move out when I had always planned to stay at least another 2 years. I told him I could not accept her being a part of my household and it was better I moved out when I did than disrespecting her like I knew I would. His girlfriend accused me of trying to break them up and ruin their relationship. She even called me moving out a stunt. I ended up blocking her number but I hear her when Dad calls. She's apparently going to blame me if her kids' feelings get hurt in all of this. Stories number 13. Take the chairs away from our work area. We're gonna fuck this place up. I work for a major US airline, for a long time and at several different airports. There's an area behind the baggage counter where the bags get sorted for their respective flights after they've been checked. We're on our feet most of the time but we each have chairs at our workstations so we can sit and rest for a minute when there's a lull in bags coming down. Every few years there'll be a hot shit new manager who's gonna turn this airport around and make it the best performing one in the system and they all seem to have the same idea. Take away the chairs so the agents are always standing at the belt. Now, the agents in this area are generally on the senior side as it's indoors and out of the elements. We've done the job for a while. We know how to do the job efficiently and we really do our best to avoid fuck-ups but as long as human error is a factor there will always be some. Taking our chairs does nothing but piss us off. Their bullshit excuse usually is framing it as a safety issue, a tripping hazard. So that's where we start. Smaller or oddly shaped bags get sent down in a plastic tub so they don't jam the belt, maybe you've seen them. We take them off the belt and stack them up on the ground for someone to come by and collect. Not anymore, we let them pile up on the belt making it a giant pain in the ass for the poor bastard collecting them. They're bitching constantly to the manager. We say sorry boss, and they're a tripping hazard on the ground. Next, we start following the rules. Our employee handbook lays out very clearly what the company's expectations for us are in our job duties. We're only expected to pull 1 bag per minute and take bags out no later than 20 minutes before the flight departs. Maybe you've guessed already but those expectations are nowhere near good enough to actually complete these tasks so by the company's own rules we were already going well beyond what was expected of us. We start giving them the bare minimum, 1 bag per minute, 20 minutes prior. Manager was pissed, he and the supervisors were throwing bags and us being unionized we documented and grieved every single time it happened and the company a few days later had to pay out several thousand to agents for covered work. Delays across the board, 1,500 bags missed that day. The next morning the chairs were back in their spots and we continued as normal and afterwards no one would give that manager the time of day. A lot of passengers got fucked over that day but we were working exactly to the rules our company had given us so you can blame the airline and not the agents. The handbook was changed after a while but only extending it to 35 minutes prior instead of 20, it's still 1 bag per minute last I looked. I was lucky enough to be a part of 3 of these events over the years but this was the most satisfying. Stories number 14. My fiancé won't allow my brother in the wedding and is mad I am not supporting here AITH. So I'm prepared to be in the wrong on this one, but I would like some outside input. For context, since the new year, me, 28M, and my fiancé, 31F, have been having difficulties and it had become obvious to my family that things were rough. Then it was my brother's, 27M, birthday and I had to leave early with my fiancé because we were in the middle of a fight and being there was embarrassing and not fair to my brother. After this, my brother sent some text messages that were particularly mean towards my fiancé. I will not lie, the texts were bad and particularly mean, which my brother is known for lashing out when angry. I addressed them and told him we would speak later. A couple days later, my fiancé goes through my phone and sees the texts from my brother. We had an agreement where we knew the passwords to each other's phone and we had access to the other's phones. She claims those were the only texts she read and it's because I hadn't mentioned anything about my brother after his birthday. Now she is mad, she is demanding an apology from my brother, which I do think is fair, and telling me that she will not have any relationship with my brother, will refuse to ever forgive him for the statements, and has made in a condition that he is not in the wedding in order for our relationship to continue. I feel stuck because, 1, my previous relationship was with a toxic individual that did try to isolate me from my family, 2, I grew up in a very close family, we both did, and fully agreed that it was essential for each other to get along and understand each other's family, and, 3, I fully admit that what my brother has done is wrong. However, he has already expressed that he was wrong and messed up and apologized to me. I will demand that he also apologize to my fiancée, but that is not enough for her. She refuses to allow me to have him as a best man, for I have shared that this is important to me and that if he is not, it will create significant hole in my relationship with my brother and our relationship with my family as a couple. Any advice or insight is welcome. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my parents I am willing to sell them my forgiveness. My parents expected me to be independent the minute I turned 18. They gave me the money they had saved up for my education and they started charging me rent. I was lucky enough to have a partial scholarship and I found a job in the city my university was in, so I moved there before the school year began. With my parents' money, my scholarship, and my wages I was able to scrape by. I rarely if ever spoke with my parents. I was kind of busy. I guess they decided that they didn't want that kind of relationship with my younger siblings because they were not presented with the same option. They both lived at home all through university and even afterwards. I am 34 now with a decent job and a great girlfriend whom I will be marrying this summer. I sent my parents and siblings an invitation. They called me to ask why they were not involved in the wedding. I responded that they hadn't really been part of my life in 16 years and that I was being nice by inviting them. They said that they acknowledged that they made mistakes when I was young, bet that it was in the past and that I should get over it. Against my fiancé's advice, I sent them an itemized bill for everything I paid for myself that they freely gave my brother and sister. I said if they wanted to be a part of my life they had to ante up. They said that they cannot afford that because they are in debt still from helping my siblings out. I laughed at that and said I hoped that I would see them at the wedding and hung up. My family are all getting a hold of me to let me know how much I'm hurting my parents. The thing is that I don't want their money. And I don't want anything from them at all other than their attendance at my wedding. If they can't do that, then I'm fine with our yearly phone call. Relevant comments. I clarifies on the rent charging and parents helping with school. Reply. They gave me $5,000 for school but then wanted $500 a month for rent. I wasn't planning on working while I was in university. So they would have gotten their money back in under a year. They did not make my siblings pay rent and they helped them with loans for their education. I got a job and have been paying my own way since I was 18. One of my siblings still lives at home rent-free. He is 26. Commenter. When you say you barely spoke with them, was it your choice or theirs? Did they try to call you regularly or visit you when you first moved out? What was the relatives, ones who are criticizing you, position in all these years? In any case, sending a bill to them when you don't want money is move. Your feelings are justified and you first need to decide if you even want a relation with them now. If so, be an adult and ask for things that you actually want, like a monthly lunch or something. Reply, I don't want anything from them. The reason we don't talk is because I fell out of the habit. Being a full-time student with 2 part-time jobs and needing the occasional nap and bathroom break took all my time up for 4 years. Why did OOP disown his parents? Reply, I didn't disown them. I had no time for anything except work me school for 4 years. Then I started a demanding career I enjoy and was spending my time with people I like. They made very little effort to see me either. Call it conscious uncoupling. How much did OOP get for schooling and what about his siblings? Reply, I got $5,000. My brother and sister got their school paid for. Why did OOP send his parents the bill? Reply, I don't want anything from them. I only sent the bill so they understood why they are not part of my wedding or my life. They could have attended, been polite, and left and our lives would have gone on without unpleasantness. OOP explains if he was angry with his parents. Reply, because they think they have any rights in my life. Update. Hey, not sure why the other sub won't let me update, but I figured if anyone was interested they could find it here. I posted a couple of years ago about my parents being upset that I didn't make them a bigger part of my wedding. This was after a decade and a half of us barely speaking and all of us being okay with the state of our relationship. They did end up coming to the wedding and then going away afterwards. Which was great and exactly what I wanted from them. My younger sister just got married and I was invited. I don't mind my sister, so my wife and I made a trip of it with my wife's mom. That way we had child care for our son. And we could have a nice visit to my hometown, which I rarely visit. It was a child-free wedding, which was fine by us. However, my wife did still need to take a couple of breaks to pump. We had a cooler for the milk so it wouldn't go to waste, and this caused another shit show. My parents were upset that I didn't bring my son to the wedding. A child-free wedding they were helping to pay for. I just laughed and said we could get together before we went home. But this wasn't good enough. They said we had to bring him to the gift opening the next day. Pass. We had plans. I told them this and they were pissed that we were just coming to the wedding and then not visiting. We do not have that kind of relationship. They have only seen my son once since he was born. They have gone on 3 overseas vacations in that time. They both earn good money and have time to travel. They just choose to spend their time and money in other ways than seeing him. I am not sure how to convey to them that we are related but not really all that close anymore. I love them and such, but in an obligatory way. They are my parents. Anyways, that's about it. They seem to have forgotten my facetious offer to sell them my forgiveness. Oh yeah, my brother still lives at home. Rent-free. He has a full-time job as a teacher. Relevant top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Weren't they in debt? If they wanted to see your child they would. You don't owe them anything. Reply, they said they were. I have not forbidden them from seeing the boy. Commenter 2, don't be shocked to find that you, and not your siblings or their own savings, are their retirement plan. Reply, that's not going to happen. Commenter 3, they have only seen my son once since he was born. They have gone on 3 overseas vacations in that time. They both earn good money and have time to travel. They just choose to spend their time and money in other ways than seeing him. I mean, would you have allowed it if they asked? I know you hold spite, which trust me is totally understandable, but from the person I have read about in these stories, I don't think they would have entertained it if they even asked. Reply, if they made the effort to come see him I would not have denied it. I'm not going to use my money to take him there. Commenter 4, sounds like you've built an excellent life in spite of your parents, good on you. So they couldn't help you before, but are now able to pay for your sister's wedding? You don't owe them a damn thing, especially when there is zero effort on their side. They should be ashamed to have treated you so differently compared to your siblings. NTA. Stories number 16. Aita for not splitting the inheritance with my siblings after finding out I was the only one who didn't screw over our dad. My dad died about 6 months ago. I'm 29F, the youngest of 4. My older siblings are 35F, 37M, and 40F. We weren't a super close family, especially with my dad. He was strict, cold, kind of hard to be around. But in the last few years, I was the only one who stayed in touch with him. I'd check in, help out with errands, sit with him during appointments, that kind of thing. The rest of my siblings gradually drifted off. I figured they just had their reasons and never pushed it. I thought we were all on decent enough terms. When he passed, I was shocked to learn he'd left everything to me, the house, car, and around $300,000 in savings. The will was updated a year before he died, and it's completely legal. I didn't ask for that. I didn't expect it. Honestly, I thought we'd all get an equal share. The day after the funeral, my siblings sat me down and just assumed I'd divide everything 4 ways. I told them I wasn't going to. That's when the drama started. Turns out, they hadn't just drifted. They had all pulled some shady stuff with my dad over the years. One borrowed money and ghosted him, one tried to get him to co-sign a loan and went no contact when he refused, and one literally forged his signature on an insurance thing. I had no idea. But apparently, my dad did. He never said anything to me about it. He just changed his will and left everything to me, the one who stuck around and didn't lie to him. Now they're calling me selfish and manipulative. Saying he wasn't in his right mind, he absolutely was sharp until the end. One of them hinted at legal action but dropped it once they saw the paperwork. I haven't touched the money yet. Part of me feels guilty. Another part of me feels like this is the one time he actually showed he saw me, and I don't want to undo that. I want to mention that I didn't have a bad relationship with my siblings, we were alright, but when I found out what they did to our dad, it just broke my heart. Aita. Stories number 17. My MIL decided to gossip with my daughter about my marriage, blowing a giant hole in my life. My wife cheated on me nearly 10 years ago. I won't get into the specifics, as they're unimportant, but due to the fact that I saw blame on both of our parts, I forgave her and we moved past it. My daughter is 16 years old, and she only just found out, from my MIL, who seems to have decided she was old enough to hear the family gossip, and that she would be mature enough not to confront her. Initially, my wife thought I had told her, and came into my office where I had been, to ask me what the hell I was thinking, and if I was trying to destroy their relationship. She and my daughter have been strained for a couple years now, lots of arguing, on both sides. She refused to believe that I hadn't said anything at first until my daughter entered the room and joined in on the screaming that I was too weak and her own mother had sold her out. The fighting went on a long time, and honestly I may as well have not been there, for all the good I did. I tried to step between them when I was concerned, but that only ended with some ringing in my ear. Eventually, my wife left to cool off, and my daughter and I could talk. She wasn't happy with me either, and didn't hesitate to tell me so, but she wasn't screaming or throwing shit anymore, so I just let her get it out. She asked me why I stayed and I was honest, that I was no perfect husband, and I decided not to end my marriage, break up our home, and destroy her childhood for something that I held blame in as well. The entire time I was speaking, she just kept watching me with this sad face that made me uncomfortable, but when I finished she just shook her head and said that I needed to leave my wife, and that the cheating wasn't the only issue. She started bringing up every insignificant flaw my wife has. She brought up my wife getting angry at me because I had put too much creamer in her coffee, for example, just trivial crap. I told her as much but she just kept shaking her head. It ended up turning into an argument where she insisted I was some sort of victim, and making some kind of getaway plan. I kept trying to talk her down, but that was going nowhere. I first tried my wife, but found my call went straight to voicemail, so I called my MIL to inform her of the situation, but my wife had already made it there, and planned to stay overnight to calm down, because she didn't want to see either of our faces. It's been a few days now and I still haven't seen her, or heard from her, but her mother informs me she's okay, just very emotional. So I'm also scared for my wife. She has had mental health struggles before, and if she's going through that again, I should be there to help. Edit, to the people who have commented, or private messaged me to say I shouldn't care. My wife almost died the last time she had an episode, and I don't think even my daughter, as angry as she is right now, wants her mom dead. My daughter told me she hopes her mother never came back. I'm just feeling defeated, and tired. I've done everything I can to keep this family floating, and somehow I'm still failing. It's beginning to feel like I always do, at everything, and always will fail at everything, as long as I live. Relevant comments. Commenter, okay, few thoughts here. 1. MIL is completely in the wrong. It's no one's business to fill daughter in on family gossip, that includes her parents. 2. I'm sure some of this is normal teenage rebellion crap. However, your wife got angry about too much creamer in the coffee. You say trivial stuff, but how often does wife get overly sensitive about trivial shit? There is a point where it becomes you managing wife's emotional outbursts instead of wife working on her own issues. Does daughter have a point at all? Reply, I 120% agree. I'm slightly in shock that my wife is mad at me, and our daughter, but somehow not too angry to stay in the house of the person who told her. I don't know, that part has been messing me up a lot, I think. My daughter has definitely been going through some teenage rebellion stuff, which I haven't minded because it's introduced me to a lot of new music when she's mad, but my wife has had some issue with because she's scared when my daughter gets older she'll regret all the crazy hair or odd clothes. I've been trying to help her with that, because I was a little teenage dirtbag myself, and my daughter is a good kid, no real trouble out of her other than being a smartass sometimes, which she comes by honest. To the rest, I don't know. My wife is temperamental, but she's not violent. I mean, she just gets mad easy. She gets over it pretty fast though. Like, she yelled about the coffee thing, dumped it out, and got a new cup and it never come up again. I honestly forgot about it until my daughter brought it up. It really wasn't a big deal. Commenter 2, what the fuck was your MIL thinking to tell that shit to a kid? She sounds like a miserable asshole who loves to stir up the shit. I wouldn't even be remotely cordial or polite to her again. Reply, from what she said, for some reason she was idiotic enough to think my daughter would keep it to herself, which honestly I'm glad she didn't because I know how secrets like that can eat at a kid, and that it was harmless gossip, because it was so long ago, and I stayed. Like if I had forgiven her, somehow my daughter wasn't meant to be affected by it. I've been working on staying calm, because she's my only link to my wife right now, and yelling at her is a good way to get blocked and have no sure way of getting updates on her. Commenter 3, okay, just because someone isn't violent doesn't mean they aren't making an emotionally hostile environment for everyone else, and you may need to examine that, or I anticipate daughter will want to leave the house as soon as she's able to. My dad remarried a woman with a similar temperament. She was quick to anger but quick to move on. It honestly felt like an emotional roller coaster sometimes. Dad loved her, so he looked past this flaw as her partner, chalking it off to just the way but she's a good person. And yeah, that was true, she wasn't a bad person. But he failed to realize her emotional outbursts made US kids feel like the vibe around the house was tense and small trivial things could make her snap even for just a minute. It just wasn't pleasant to be around at all. Reply, they were always so close growing up, though. I mean, I felt like the bonus parent at times, because they were so close when she was little. Like, I remember being a bit jealous about it, because I would laugh and think to myself that I thought dads and daughters were supposed to have the special relationship, haha. They only really started fighting when my daughter was 14. I guess I still feel guilty, because their first fight was 100% my fault, and I still blame myself for it. Commenter 3, really? Their first fight was 100% your fault. That's amazing, you managed to force two other people to fight, and basically created the difficulties in a mother-daughter relationship all by yourself. It sounds like you're very prone to taking responsibility, or blame, for other people's actions. This can be a good trait, up to a point. But not when it's combined with another person who's emotionally abusive and likes to shift blame for their actions onto someone else. Which may describe your wife. Your daughter is telling you your wife is abusive. And she's telling you that the way you make excuses for and accommodate your wife hurts her, makes her feel unprotected by you, disappointed in you, and sad for you. These things can all be true even if your wife is a good person in other ways, and even if she loves your daughter. You've told yourself that accepting your wife's explosive temper is a form of maturity on your part. For your daughter's sake and your own, and even your wife's, you need to ask yourself if what you're really doing is being an enabler of abusive behavior. Reply, I just don't know if I can see it that way. I mean, my mom used to be really abusive when I was young, in more ways than one. My daughter doesn't know about that, my mom died before she was born, my wife has never been anything like that at all. I do intend to talk to my daughter, because a lot of people are saying my wife may be hurting my daughter behind closed doors other than the fighting which we've been trying to work out for a while. I will speak with her, and depending on her answers, I will go from there. The biggest reason I dismissed my daughter's concerns, though, was because it was all about me. Like during that talk, she never spoke up about her mother hurting her at all. If she had even told me that she had no reason for it, but she was afraid of her mother, I would have taken that to heart and we could have figured it out from there. I just don't see my wife shouting and pouring out some coffee as anything remotely close to my mom. Commenter 4, tell us more about the MIL. Does she usually intrude on your personal lives like this? Reply, MIL and my wife were always close. She said more than once that her mother is her best friend. Intrude? It's hard to say. I don't particularly like her knowing everything about our marriage because it's weird to me, but then I had no relationship to speak of with my mother when she was alive, so I have no idea if that's actually just me being weird. Update. It's been a while. I probably will regret posting this as much as I did the first time, though for different reasons. Before I begin, I want to thank all the kind people who reached out with genuine advice and with whom I had lovely conversations. I appreciate you more than I can say. Checking my history, I saw that I never updated after the conversation with my daughter about her situation with my wife. We talked, and it went worse than I expected, but better than most of the comments. She never hit my daughter or threatened her. My daughter did bring up the yelling, and I listened, though she said she was never afraid of her mother, but she started to hate her when she noticed how she treated me, hence the change in appearance and rebelling. She liked that I stood up for her when it came to her new style, because then I was standing up for something. That makes me laugh a bit now, but at the time, I was confused. We talked a long time, and she said she thought maybe she could get over the resentment she had for her mother if she didn't have to see the way she treats me. I didn't much like that at the time, and I admit I argued that I was an adult and she didn't have to fight my fights for me. My daughter said something like, if I don't, who will, and it just kinda stopped me in my tracks, because my only answer, sometimes you have to pick your battles, sounds weak when you pick none of them. I still intended to try to work on my marriage, despite the comments. I really hope to turn things around because of their previous relationship, and frankly, how much I still loved my then wife. But then she didn't come home for weeks. I don't know if it was my daughter's needling, or the fact I could tell she was upset at being abandoned by her mother at the first sign of trouble, but one day I eventually reached out and asked my ex-mill when my wife was going to come home and act like an adult, and was told she was looking into divorce attorneys, and that if I wanted her back I should really work on getting my daughter to apologize. It all felt so manipulative, and I just got so angry. I just hung up and spoke to my own lawyer. After being served, she tried to come back and cried that it was her mental health, but I was still so angry, I just shut her down and told her to leave. Divorce was finalized a while ago, my daughter stays with me most of the time, since her mother moved out of state afterward, and she wants to go to college in the area when the time comes, but visits MIL, and speaks to her mother on the phone sometimes. As much as I hate to admit it, their relationship is improving since the divorce. I don't hate my ex-wife, even if many, including my daughter, categorize her as abusive. She's the first woman I ever really clicked with in that way, and though I don't love her anymore, probably the last. I don't mind it so much. I have a full life without her around, and a quieter one as well. But, anyway, thank you all again for listening, and I am bracing for I told you so's. I don't blame you, you did. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It does seem obvious that you were being a doormat if your own child viewed herself as needing to be your savior from her mother. Then learning the betrayal made how she felt 10x more valid. I believe your ex-MIL wanted this outcome and felt similar to your daughter. Hopefully you're doing better for yourself and listening to your daughter more instead of being defensive lol. Good luck with everything. Reply, my ex-MIL may have, but with the shit storm she was constantly starting during the divorce I doubt it. I think she just wanted to gossip and start drama. Predictable for her. From what I hear from my daughter, I don't ask, but she tells anyway, MIL is broken up about my ex leaving the state. Commenter 2, she thought your daughter should apologize. You will be so much better off without her. Reply, I'm fairly certain she wanted my teenage daughter to pretend she didn't even know. Which is ridiculous, and regardless of my feelings on the incident, that wasn't going to happen. And I wouldn't want it to. Commenter 3, your daughter saved all 3 of your lives. Your wife was abusive. Your daughter was being abused, and so were you. I'm glad she was adult enough to finally put an end to this madness. I really hope your ex-wife gets serious mental help and your daughter doesn't have lasting effects from it. Reply, from what I know my ex is finding herself. Good for her, I never even knew she was lost. My daughter is a strong young woman. Stronger than I ever was or ever will be. I am more proud of her than I can possibly explain, even without this situation. She's the best part of my life, and to quote the old sayings, when I count my blessings I count her twice. OOP on ex-MIL and her visits. Reply, my MIL is no longer allowed in my house due to some of her actions over the past year, but my daughter is 17 now, with her own car, and I won't prevent her from talking with her on the phone or visiting if she wants. She's never expressed a desire not to see her anymore, and I'm not going to force the issue. If she changes her mind, that's no problem for me, but I've been very clear that she has no obligation to cut off anyone over me. Why does ex-MIL hate OOP? Reply, there's a lot to that. She never really liked me exactly, mostly tolerated me because I was a decent husband in her words. But she tried to get me to drop the divorce since, clearly, my ex was having an episode. When she brought it up in the first place, then the divorce proceedings started. She insisted my ex should get full custody despite my daughter, and my ex-wife arguing against it. Then it was division of assets and she had a problem with anything not handed over to my ex, even ridiculous things. She argued my ex should get both cars. My ex was surprisingly reasonable, but it was like her mother wanted me punished for giving up on my ex. After a lot of screaming when she showed up at my house anytime I was home, I eventually told her that she was no longer welcome and if she came back, I would call the police to escort her off the property. I think that scared her, and she hasn't been my problem since. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my mom she's dead to me after expecting me to pay $2,000 for a cruise I'm not going on. I, 17M, and my mom, 40M, have had a rocky relationship for the past 4 months because of her relationship with my dad. My dad has never liked me or bonded with me due to him thinking I am an affair baby even though I'm not. My dad has belittled and controlled me my entire life, and while my mom doesn't agree with it, doesn't do anything to prevent it. To give you an idea, my family purposefully had their Christmas celebration while I wasn't home, I'm guessing so it wasn't obvious that they didn't get me anything. Meanwhile they had gotten my brother, 15M, and sister, 7F, hundreds of dollars worth of gifts. Honestly, I'm used to this sort of treatment, but when I told some friends they said it wasn't right. Since I started dating my 18F girlfriend 5 months ago, my dad has upped the antics. Telling me my girlfriend will cheat on me soon, preventing me from seeing her, basically trying to use her as another thing he can control me with. After a bad fight a week ago, my dad personally threatened my girlfriend and he then took my phone, car, and kicked me out of the house. During the fight he threatened to call the police on me, threatened to fight me, and was chasing me around the house. I ran down the road and my mom and sister got in a car and we spent the night at a hotel. The next day though my mom went back because I guess she didn't have anywhere else to stay. Since then I have been staying with my girlfriend and her family who have been extremely kind and supportive. My mom told me she was going to leave my dad and buy a house within the next couple weeks. This has been a common conversation for years of her saying she'll leave my dad and never does, so I don't know how much weight it holds. Now to recently. Yesterday my mom told me she booked our family a week-long cruise. All of us together, including my dad. After some back and forth with my mom of me saying I didn't want to spend a week with my dad, let alone on a cruise ship, she told me if I didn't go I owed her $2,000, the cost of my ticket. I told my mom I never wanted to speak to her again and that even if she buys a house I won't be moving back in with her. I don't even know where they are planning on going or when it is. But on the other hand, maybe it could be fun. I have a bad relationship with my dad and brother, and from the looks of it me and my mom are heading down that path. But I do have a great relationship with my little sister. I know I'm young, so maybe I'm just not seeing the bigger picture. Am I the jerk for not wanting to pay $2,000 for a cruise I didn't even want to go on in the first place? Edit. I have a job and can afford the $2,000, but it would be almost all of my savings for those wondering. I see a lot of people telling me to do a DNA test and confused why there hasn't been one done already. I am sure I am his kid. I hate to say it, but I look exactly like him. I don't know if a DNA test or paternity test has been done already when I was younger. Even if I were to get one done and throw the results in his face, I doubt it would change anything. He would probably deny it. I really think the only reason he has accused it is to further isolate me from my family. I also don't have the means to buy one right now. I am trying to save everything I can to buy my own car. In the future, when I am more stable, I may try and do one just for peace of mind. I know this may not make sense to most of you, but my dad is extremely stubborn. Update, Aita for telling my mom she's dead to me after expecting me to pay $2,000 for a cruise I'm not going on. A lot has happened. First off, I know this sounds fake, but I really need help trying to navigate my situation with my mom. The people around me are trying their best, but I'm still at a loss, and the Reddit community has been extremely helpful so far. So after reading all of the comments, I decided not to go on the cruise and not to pay my mom any money. I'm currently trying to move all my money into an account my girlfriend is opening up for me. Earlier yesterday morning I had asked my mom if I could have the day off from school since my girlfriend was going on a trip and I wouldn't see her for a few days. She agreed, nothing out of the ordinary, and said she would let me dad know. To clarify, this is my second absence total. After about an hour of being out of school, my dad texted me a threatening message. When I talked to my mom about it, she told me she never gave me permission to skip school. I do have the text messages to prove she did. Around 30 minutes later the cops showed up at my girlfriend's house because my dad had reported me for truancy. Obviously this is not true. I talked to the cops while my girlfriend stayed inside since I didn't want to get her involved. It was nerve-wracking as hell. He pretty much said I was fine and that I had done nothing wrong, just make sure I'm not missing too many days in a row. I guess word got back to my dad that the cops did nothing, and that really pissed him off, so he reported me for stealing his car. I found this out from my mom and immediately called the police station and letting them know I was returning it and had no intention of stealing it since my dad had previously given me permission to use it. The cop I spoke with just told me to return it and take video and picture evidence of it there. I'm angry, and I'm totally done with my parents. They have threatened cops on me numerous times before, but actually calling them? Yeah, no. Oh, and get this, my mom is still trying to convince me to go on this cruise. Apparently it's now just a 3-day one. Obviously I'm not going. My issue right now is my mom is threatening to call the police on me to bring me back home. I've been staying with my girlfriend and her family and I feel incredibly loved and supported. I don't want to leave them. I've been extremely stressed and anxious about the thought of having to go back home. My dad doesn't even want me there, but my mom is threatening to report me as a runaway in order to bring me home. I am still 17 and legally I'm not allowed to move out against my parents' wishes. I contacted a lawyer yesterday night to discuss possibly being emancipated. The lawyer messaged back today saying that he thinks I have a case and is willing to work with me. My mom told me by the end of this week she will have a new place for us to move into. I feel like it's a blatant lie since she is going on a cruise at that time. Since I don't have a car anymore, my girlfriend and my girlfriend's mom have offered to take me to school and work. I would also like to mention, since I've been living with my girlfriend, my family hasn't supported me in any way. Another issue I'm having is I have not responded to any messages my mom has sent. I forgot to include, but after they reported the car they also shut off my phone. I ordered a new one that should be coming in a few days, thankfully. My girlfriend is on her trip right now and my mom has been spamming her phone with messages trying to reach me, same with my girlfriend's mom. I have no intention of talking to her. She has blamed every problem on my dad and has refused to hold herself accountable for anything. I am tired, confused, and don't know what the next steps I should take are. Stories number 19. Aita for being uncomfortable with my roommate's dad letting himself into our apartment. I moved into this apartment about a year ago. My roommate has lived here for 3 years, and before I moved in, her older sister was her roommate. Naturally, their parents have a spare key, which I totally understand, it's been a family thing for years. But I didn't know about the spare key when I moved in, and now the way her parents use it is starting to make me really uncomfortable. The first time it happened, my roommate was at work on a Sunday and I was napping on the couch. I heard the doorbell but ignored it, assuming it was just a neighbor. A few seconds later, the front door opened and her parents walked in. I was startled and confused, they said they were just there to pick up her laundry. I was definitely caught off guard, but I let it slide. Since then, her parents have come by somewhat frequently. Yesterday, something happened that really pushed my boundaries. I usually leave early for work, but I had a later event, so I was still in bed around 6:50 a.m. when I heard the front door open. I could hear someone walking around and then using our shared bathroom. It creeped me out. Later I asked my roommate if someone came in, and she said the only person it could have been was her dad. She texted him and confirmed he came by to drop off her wallet and use the bathroom. I told her I'd appreciate a heads up in the future. She responded that she didn't know he was coming either and that she'd asked him to give more notice. But then she added that he probably assumed no one was home because she usually has class on Wednesdays. That annoyed me because both of our cars were parked right outside the front door, he definitely could see someone was home. So I replied that if my car is parked out front, it's safe to assume I'm home, and I'd just really appreciate a heads up. Now things feel a little tense. I know it's partially my fault for not bringing this up more seriously the first time it happened, but I didn't want to make it a big deal. I get that her parents having a key is a legacy from when her sister lived here, but I'm not her sister. I'm just a regular roommate who found the place through a roommate group. I would never be okay with my parents just letting themselves into a shared apartment. I'm not upset they have a key, I'm upset that they use it to just let themselves in without knocking or warning, especially while I'm home. It's invasive, and honestly, it makes me feel unsafe. I also want to add that I don't want her to think I feel negatively about her dad, because I don't. I understand he probably meant no harm, but this is more about my own personal comfort. It's just not something I'm okay with, and I don't know how to make that clear without sounding accusatory. Info: parents do not own apartment, my roommate and I are the only ones on the lease. Stories number 20. Aita for telling a longtime friend that if she's not going to vaccinate her child when he's born, her child isn't going to be allowed around my kid. My friend, 30F, and I, 29F, grew up together, literally our moms changed both our diapers. She's pregnant with a son, due by the end of July, and I have a 3-year-old son. She's anti-vax, and my kid has all the shots. Her younger sister has a kid too, a little over a year old, this baby is also vaccinated. Her cousin has a plethora of kids and they are also vaccinated. Her sister told her she wouldn't have her kid around her unvaccinated child, this has caused their mother to choose which grandkid to watch. Her cousin also told her that her child wouldn't be allowed around her children. Her mother told her that she wouldn't watch her child because it puts the other grandchild at risk. Her mother also told her that she is fully vaccinated and has always been fully vaccinated and she turned out fine, and that what she's worried about has been debunked long before now. She vented to me over text, saying that her husband has done loads of research and that she trusts his judgment more than doctors, and I told her I was sorry, but I am of the same mind as her mother, sister and cousin. She lost her ever-loving mind about me not being supportive. I told her I was supportive of her choice to not vaccinate, but these are the consequences of those choices and she can't be mad that people don't want to put their kids at risk for illnesses that are only prevented when everyone is vaccinated, and if her kid is a carrier without symptoms, even my vaccinated child could end up in the hospital and later the morgue. I told her that, as a parent, it is our jobs to protect our children first, and that this was me doing my job. She's now ranting on social media about how no one loves her child and she's being abandoned for doing what she thinks is best for her child. So Aita for telling my friend that I, too, won't allow my child around her kid because they're unvaccinated. Edit update. Thank you to everyone who commented YTA and asked if I'm admitting that vaccines don't work. Vaccines are effective greater than 80% of the time, and I highly recommend you go hang out with someone suffering from the illnesses you yourself are vaccinated against and go visit countries without getting the recommended vaccines, and please don't seek medical attention if you get ill from whatever it is. Just because you get the flu vaccine doesn't mean you won't get the flu, it means your chances of being on a ventilator and dying are lowered. Did you know George Washington wouldn't allow you in the military when the flu vaccine first came out? Did you know you are forced to take certain vaccines in the military before you can be deployed to certain areas? Isn't reading scientific journals, travel laws, and history great? To my lovely people asking if I ask about the kids at the park, no I don't, because I expect, because as a society that if you want to be a part of it, you do what's best for your fellow man as well. Which means vaccinating your children. For those asking about Dr. Google husband and her professions, he's a drug dealer and she's a real estate agent. They've been together since she was in 8th grade and she's been told a lot about all his red flags that he's waved long before he became a do-your-own research quack. She's lost many friends over the years due to his terrible behavior and actions towards people and her. This is likely the only baby she will ever have due to private medical reasons that are too distinguishable to put online. But her condition affects roughly 0.3% of people with a uterus, and due to this condition it makes it incredibly hard for those with it to get pregnant or maintain a pregnancy. She didn't even announce she was pregnant until well into the 2nd trimester due to the odds of a late-term miscarriage. So this is her miracle baby. Update-ish, her mom came over with her grandbaby for our weekly playdate. She told me she can't believe how stupid her daughter has become and doesn't know if there's any way to change her mind, but she has found a pediatrician that will take her child and she is planning to homeschool her child. I told her that I wish her daughter the best, but I'm not going to knowingly risk my kiddo's health. She said she completely understands and will keep me updated on how things go, but that she probably not ever meet this grandchild because she doesn't want to risk the other one. So, I have what I have considered my childhood's second mom and pretty much everyone else in our circle on the same page. So, thank you everyone for your responses. May your children grow up and live long, happy, healthy lives. Stories number 21. My boyfriend accidentally called me the other day while he was still at the gym with his friends. He had called me earlier to invite me over for one of our usual game nights. We usually just play Elden Ring and have some drinks. It's something I always look forward to. Since he wasn't home yet, I told him to just give me a call once they got back and I'd head over. About 20 minutes later, my phone rang. I figured it was him letting me know they were home. I picked up and said hello a few times, but quickly realized he couldn't hear me. I think he must have tapped my name by mistake from his recent calls or something. But here's where it gets interesting. He was talking to his friends about me. He mentioned that a couple of girls were flirting with him at the gym, but then I heard him say, "I don't care about any of that, I get to see my girl tonight." And then he just kept going, "You don't get it. I'm crazy about her. She's smart, sexy, so sweet, and I literally can't wait to see her." He was just gushing. I was smiling like an idiot listening to it all, but that's not even the main reason I'm posting this. I accidentally overheard something I probably wasn't supposed to. My birthday's coming up, and he's been really secretive about whatever he's planning. Then I heard him say, "Her camera is crap, like, it barely works, so I'm going to surprise her with a Canon and a few lenses." He didn't say which model, but still. Then he said, "She's so talented, and I believe in her. I just want to help her make it. I'm a photographer and currently work for a company, but my dream is to eventually start my own business." The fact that he sees that and is rooting for me this hard. I've never had anyone show me that kind of support or belief before. He still doesn't know I heard any of it. I've just been holding it close to my heart and smiling every time I think about it. I'm seriously the luckiest. Stories number 22. My 27M, FIL, 59M, led a smear campaign against me and came between me and my wife, 29F. I'm lost. How do I forge forward? My 27M, wife, 29F, and I aren't in a good place. It's not a fun feeling. I feel context is important here. We're college sweethearts married for 6 years and have a daughter, 4F. Our constant hurdle is family. It's like having to validate our relationship. I always thought my wife was worth it, though. I haven't felt for anyone else the way I do about her. My wife's family is very old school. They're conservative in their beliefs and values. My FIL, 59M, is treated as the captain and looked to as the head. My relationship with him was never smooth, not for my lack of trying. Him putting up with me only came after my daughter. I don't believe he's ever thought I was good enough for his daughter. I wasn't his first choice or in his top 5. I don't share their gated community or fancy school's background. My FIL always had some backhanded remark about my upbringing. During a family gathering at my in-laws last Christmas, my FIL's iPad went missing. He blew a fuse and accused me of stealing it. His reasoning was there was a period of time I was alone in the house. I was never actually alone in the house. I was helping my MIL, 58F, in the kitchen because people were kicking back their feet while she was slaving away for a big family. There was no reasoning with him. He called the police and actually told the officers how a real man would own up when caught, but I was never taught to be a man. Another backhanded remark. I was raised in a household of women. My FIL expressed once that only a man can raise a boy into a man. I spoke up for myself during his rantings. The whole situation was humiliating, but I had nothing to hide. The officers had to de-escalate and stood around until everyone went their separate ways. My FIL did a smear campaign on social media accusing me of theft and saying how I wasn't family. Some real vicious stuff was said. It impacted my life. I lost a job opportunity because his posts came up in the vetting process. The company was rebranding and didn't want drama associated. Essentially, I was shunned from the family. There were those who didn't agree with my FIL, but they wanted to stay out of it. No one wanted to cross him. I was no longer welcomed on my in-laws' property until I confessed and apologized. My wife still attended everything without me and took our daughter with her even on NYE. I wanted to spend it with her and our daughter, but she chose to appease her dad and keep tradition. During all of my FIL's accusations, the smear campaign, and shunning, my wife didn't lend me support in any way. She bowed to her dad and would tell me to just apologize. She said I was being stubborn by refusing. It wasn't about apologizing. My FIL wanted me to beg. I'm not a prideful person, but I'm not getting on my knees and pleading for forgiveness for something I didn't commit. My wife said she was only trying to keep the peace instead of being right. Once my FIL badmouthed me around our daughter, and my wife never spoke up. She claimed she didn't hear him. I don't believe she would have done anything either way. Our daughter kept me afloat. I put my foot down on her attending gatherings after the badmouthing. My wife accused me of escalating by withholding our daughter. I felt my FIL tried to influence my child against me. My move was for boundaries. I wasn't asking my wife to cut off her dad. I know how important family is to her. But we're married. We have a child. We made vows. I only wanted her to be there for me as my partner and best friend. She abandoned me. I had more support from my MIL and SIL, 35F, than I ever did from her. We fought a lot. We were pushed to a new level of argument. I held everything in, and we'd blow up. My wife said she'd dealt with her dad her whole life, and she learned sometimes it was better to just yield. About a month ago, my name was cleared. My SIL found the iPad in her son's, 9M, room. He confessed to taking it. He was afraid to say anything after my FIL's reaction to me. My FIL has never apologized or publicly recanted. He acts like nothing happened, and the rest of the family followed suit. He had my MIL relay that I was welcome to their home again. Others began inviting me to functions. I've declined for myself and my daughter. I'm not holding grudges or using my daughter as punishment. I saw who my FIL was clearly. I don't want any involvement with him unless necessary, nor is my daughter allowed to have unsupervised visits with him. I don't want her exposed to the ugliness. The situation remains a sore on my marriage. My wife won't talk about it. If I try, she says I'm throwing the past in her face. I'm just trying to open up to her about how everything still affects me. She feels I'm not working toward keeping the peace. My FIL falsely accused me of theft, led a smear campaign, badmouthed me around our daughter, and was enabled by some family. This is me keeping the peace. I don't care if this post is the right call. My wife wouldn't approve, but there's no talking to her about this in any real way. I'm lost. We've never been so disconnected. I'm in love with her. I wouldn't have stayed if I wasn't. I want to work on our marriage and do right by our daughter. I don't regret my choice on my FIL, but I am questioning if I'm making things worse. I feel alone. I need a fresh perspective. How do I move forward as healthily as possible for my marriage when I don't care where to step? TLDR, my FIL falsely accused me of stealing from him and went on a smear campaign. I was essentially shunned from the family. He even badmouthed me around my child. I received no support from my wife whatsoever. She wanted me to apologize to keep the peace. The whole ordeal came between us. My name was cleared, but my FIL hasn't apologized. I don't want anything to do with him or for my daughter to have unsupervised contact with him. My wife doesn't support me on this. I want to work on our marriage and do right by our daughter. How do I move forward as healthily as possible for my marriage when I don't care where to step? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I don't see how you do. Your wife either knew you didn't do it but was unwilling to stand up for you, or she believed you did do it. What happens when it's not an iPad being stolen, but something way worse? Your wife will never be on your side. Reply. She knew I didn't do it. She just never stood up to her dad in any way or offer any support. She folded and checked out on me and left it to me meet these demands of taking ownership. It's made me question our relationship. Commenter 2. Wow. I would just simply say you and your daughter won't be attending anything without a full written apology from FIL. But your marriage is probably done TBH. Reply. Yeah, I made it known that I had no intent of participating with my FIL more than necessary and no unsupervised visits for my daughter. When my FIL wanted an apology, I was told I was being stubborn. When he never offered not me an apology, I'm told I'm not letting the past go. I just really expected more from my wife. Commenter 3. You lost a job, get a lawyer. If your wife won't take your side, the legal system may. Beyond that, you don't have issues in your relationship because of your wife's family, you have issues in your relationship because of your wife. It also seems like you have a long way to go with being able to deal with conflict and set boundaries. This would be what I would focus on, along with other ways of self-improvement. You can't individually fix a relationship, but you can change and grow, and either the relationship grows with you or you grow out of it. Reply. I was up for an interview. It was an opportunity for another field I was looking to get into. I don't care where to go in my marriage from here. She does everything in her power to avoid the elephant in the room. It's like she doesn't want to acknowledge how much on separate sides we were. I mentioned counseling and she said we didn't need more people in family business. OOP added more on his FIL and his wife. I honestly didn't know things were this bad with her dad until later. The most distance she got from him when we were in college. She had told me she purposefully chose a school further away from home and she didn't go home as much on breaks. She said she just wanted to break off on her own. Her work took us back near her parents and she kinda went back into the fold. But even then, I didn't expect her to just ditch me like she did. We faced some pushback from my FIL and her position wasn't so severe. I feel like things blew up. She had to make a decision. SND she chose to go along to get along with her dad. What hurts is that she knew I wasn't guilty but still chose him. Even in private there were no words of comfort from her. She just kept urging me to apologize to her dad. Update. I, 27M, want to thank everyone for the support. I appreciate it. The original post was the first time I put everything out there and didn't feel dismissed. The situation with my FIL, 59M, was extensive and largely unaddressed by my wife, 29F. It occurred to me that, not being able to open up to her, I didn't know how to communicate with her anymore. The feedback I received was a real eye-opener. My issue isn't isolated to my FIL. This isn't solely a spat with in-laws. It's an issue involving my wife. Things with my FIL are what they are. I'm not seeking a deeper connection with him. We're in-laws, nothing more, nothing less, and he made it abundantly clear in his smear campaign that I wasn't family but a hurdle the family needed to overcome. My concern is my wife and our daughter, 4F. They're my family and my focus. That said, I realize I can't make my wife do anything. I can't make her communicate with me. I can't make her instill boundaries with her dad. I only have a say for myself and our daughter. I know something needs to change. Our marriage can't be sustained this way. It's not good for anyone, especially our daughter. After getting my feelings out, I've felt more resolved with what I needed to do. I told my wife about the original post. She's seen it in some comments. She wasn't thrilled, but to her credit, she didn't automatically shut me down like usual. She was open to hearing what I had to say. If ultimatum is the right term because I wasn't trying to force her to choose anything. I'm just trying to implement boundaries for our daughter and our marriage. I told her that things needed to change because our marriage couldn't survive like this. No one should feel alone or abandoned in their marriage. The options were either couples therapy or separation. She didn't take to separation well. She seemed repulsed by it. She said she knew we weren't in a good place, but she didn't realize that was where I was at and how we made vows and our bond is supposed to withstand. She feels her dad shouldn't take away from us. I told her I wasn't taking separation lightly. Our vows do mean something, but whether she admits it or not, she checked out on our vows in favor of her dad. It wasn't keeping the peace. It was me drowning while she was on her dad's boat and never tossed me a line. Our issues are bigger than just her dad. Our current way isn't it. My wife chose therapy. We found a therapist, and it's officially scheduled. I want to be hopeful, but that's not something I've let myself feel for a bit now. I don't believe she was only telling me what she thought I wanted to hear. I saw the reality of it hit her when separation was put on the table. I asked her if MC was something she really wanted. I'm not talking about the sometimes it's better to yield thing she said about her dad or for keeping the peace. I was asking what she genuinely wanted. She said it was and that she doesn't want to lose our relationship or our family. Some have questioned why I'd want to try working on my marriage. It's not about staying for our daughter. I want to make a real attempt for my family and see if things can be mended. I know there's more to my wife than just my FIL. I fell in love with her because of who she was as a person. When we met and got to know each other, it was away from her dad. I saw how caring she was for others even if she didn't agree with their POV, how decent she was, and how she had a weight off her shoulders with distance from her dad's shadow. My wife is the youngest of her siblings, and I would say my in-laws hold on to her more tightly. I didn't know how bad things were until I actually dealt with my FIL. It's why she chose a long-distance school and didn't go home on breaks often. Her work moved us closer to home and she was back into the fold fully. My FIL smear campaign was our first major obstacle following that. I'm in love with my wife, but I'm not speaking out of blind love. Whether we're together or not, I want the best for her. Part of my hope for MC is that she regains sight of herself separate from her dad and sees that boundaries for herself aren't crossing a line. Maybe we can recover together and come out better for it. I know we got married a little young. Trust me, we'd heard our fair share from the skeptics, but I was always sure of my wife. Marriage wasn't something I took lightly. I didn't expect there to be nothing but clear skies, but we should want more from each other. Being there for each other and emotional intimacy are the bare minimum. We should be a team. Our family is the core before any other relationship. To me, our vows mean consciously choosing each other and committing to each other even when it's hard. What MC will bring. It'll be my first experience with therapy. All I can do is take everything one step at a time and reaffirm boundaries for myself and my daughter. I'm not withholding my daughter as punishment or holding grudges. I don't even want an apology from my FIL because I know it'll be empty. I'm just done giving him any more power. I'm protecting my daughter too. To those who haven't experienced something like this, I hope you never will, and for those in a similar struggle, I hope for nothing but the best for you. You're not alone. Thank you for showing me that I'm not either. TLDR update on, my FIL falsely accused me of stealing from him and went on a smear campaign. I was essentially shunned from the family. He even badmouthed me around my child. I received no support from my wife whatsoever. She wanted me to apologize to keep the peace. The whole ordeal came between us. My name was cleared, but my FIL hasn't apologized. I don't want anything to do with him or for my daughter to have unsupervised contact with him. My wife doesn't support me on this. I want to work on our marriage and do right by our daughter. How do I move forward as healthily as possible for my marriage when it were to step? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I would adamantly insist that FIL will only see his granddaughter if I am there. There would be an ultimatum with him if he ever says anything negative about me in front of her. He will never see her again until she's 18. I believe if she's a good, level-headed person that therapy should open her eyes to how shitty her dad's behavior is. Good luck. Reply. Yeah, that's locked down. He isn't allowed any unsupervised visits with my daughter. He lost that privilege when he decided to include her in his vendetta and bad-mouth me around her. Commenter 2. Good luck with MC and perhaps a new start with a new city and new jobs with more distance from the in-laws will help both of you to bond as a unit again. Did Fael correct his social media posts? No relationship with him is possible without that correction and a face-to-face apology. Reply. I do think moving away to our own space would be beneficial. It'll offer the balance we had before. My Fael quietly deleted his posts but he never recanted anything. His allegations are probably still a reality for some. He acts like nothing happened. I just want nothing to do with him beyond necessary. Stories number 23. I learned the real reason my ex left me. So around 2 years ago, my ex-fiancée, who I'd been in a relationship with for almost 10 years unceremoniously just left me. It never fully made sense to me as there were no warning signs. We were actively planning our wedding and finally agreed to try for a baby, as we were both in our 30s and time was ticking. Then one day, he just started acting sort of off, wasn't saying I love you before he left for work for the day, was spending more time out drinking with his friends than he was at home. He'd been struggling with his mental health since COVID lockdown, so I assumed he was having a bit of a downward spiral. So I sat down with him one day and just asked him if everything was okay with him. He tried to brush it off initially and kept saying he was fine, so I changed the question and asked if we were okay. He looked like he really didn't want to answer, so I asked again. He paused and in that moment, I knew, it was over. I asked if he still loved me. He said he loved me but wasn't in love with me anymore. And that was it. Within a week, he had moved out, leaving 90% of his belongings to be collected at a later date and to serve as a constant reminder that he was just gone. To say it hit me hard was an understatement. I spiraled massively. I was at the lowest point I had ever been in my life, so I tried to end it all. It just hurt too much feeling like there was something so wrong with me that he had to just leave. Fortunately, a friend managed to get me to a hospital before I did any serious damage to myself, and while I still felt awful about myself most of the time, it got a little easier. I ended up dating that friend a few months later. A lot of people said it was too soon to move on, but honestly I never set out to have another relationship at all, but his constant support, presence and reassurance that there was nothing wrong me made me want to spend time with those who truly gave a shit about me, and in time we developed feelings for each other. We had a beautiful relationship filled with love and laughter, and much to our surprise I ended up pregnant 9 months into our relationship. We decided to keep the baby even though our relationship was still in its early stages, and 9 months later our beautiful daughter was born. We are still as strong as ever today and continuing to build an amazing life together as a family. Now on to present day. I guess my ex has been reflecting on the past recently due to a lot of deaths in his family, and his mother, who I'm still close with today, reached out to me to ask whether I'd be willing to meet up with him as he had something to get off his chest. She didn't know what he wanted to talk to me about as it was something he could only discuss with me, but she would understand if I said no. I decided to think about it for a few days before I agreed that I would meet up with him at a local coffee shop. I got there early because Mama needs her caffeine fix with these early morning wake-ups and night feeds. I was already sat down when he came in and he gave me the saddest looking smile while I merely just nodded to him and motioned for him to sit down and get out whatever he needed to tell me. I was a little bit speechless at what he had to say. He said that when we started trying for a baby and nothing was happening, even though we were closely tracking my ovulation cycle and testing every day for that sweet spot, he realized something wasn't right, so he secretly took a day off work to see a fertility doctor. They found that due to an undiagnosed issue in one of his testicles, the likelihood of him ever being able to conceive a biological child of his own was incredibly low. He knew that I loved him so deeply that I would have given up my dream of having children, just for him, and he said he couldn't live with that on his conscience, that I deserved to have the life and family I'd always wanted, only with someone else. He kept apologizing profusely for hurting me so much in the process but tried to rationalize that I had got what I'd wanted in the end, so his plan ultimately worked. I ultimately sat there silent for a few minutes and just looked at him dead in the eyes and said that was never his decision to make. He took away my choice and nearly destroyed me in the process. And I got up and left. It's been a few days and I'm still processing. My partner knew I was meeting up with my ex and he knows something is up but is giving me space until I feel ready to talk about it, but honestly I'm shook. Like, did my ex honestly think I'd be like, okay, thanks for letting me know, and then we'd all be friends again? Edit. Tried to add an update post, however it was removed by the mods. Will post to my profile if anyone is interested. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He was having an affair that is now over and is reflecting. He used a lie to try to make himself seem like a martyr. Reply. I did suspect that for quite some time. There was a girl in our friend group he had become oddly close to over the last year of our relationship. She was one of the main people he was going out drinking with when I started realizing something wasn't quite right, so my mind did go there for a while. He ended up moving in with her as housemates after he moved out. She tried coming over to collect the remainder of his things. I was pretty mad and said I didn't consent to her being there, and if she didn't leave my property, I'd call the police on her for trespassing. I don't believe anything was ever actually going on there though, as I heard through the grapevine that she was seeing some drug dealer shortly after my ex moved in with her. Commenter 2. Absolutely. Your ex-boyfriend had no right to take away your choice in this matter. Did he know about your failed attempt at suicide? Why did he not come back then and admit that it was all a mistake? Because you couldn't have babies if you are dead, right? I think it is either he is an absolute moron or he is trying to give you some BS reason so that you think of him in a better light going forward. Reply. Yes, he was aware of the attempt. We had a pretty close-knit group of friends, some of whom were really supportive afterwards. They made him aware. I got a "I hope you're okay, sorry for everything" message after he found out. I never responded, and it was at that point that I blocked and deleted his number and all his socials because I couldn't trust myself not to drunk message him begging for him to come back. Commenter 3. There were other ways to deal with his infertility. Donor sperm. Adoption. The fact that he would rather have taken this decision from you than discuss options with you proves that he was not a suitable long-term partner for you. There are lots of hard decisions couples need to make together, and he demonstrated that he was unwilling to give you any real agency in your life together. You are better off now with your new partner. Reply. Oh, I know, I'm absolutely so much better off. My current partner is pretty much the opposite of my ex, which was why it was such a surprise that I developed feelings for him. He's extremely different from my usual type, but he's such a good egg. We had chance to talk about everything late last night. Our daughter is going through a bit of a sleep regression, so late nights are pretty common for us at the minute, and he was super empathetic and equally as pissed. I got my first period since having the baby this morning, and he ran me a bath and told me to go sulk for as long as I need to, bless him. Update. If you'd like a recap of the story, please see my original post here. First off, thank you all for your lovely comments and messages of support. I was not expecting my post to blow up like it did, so I wasn't really expecting to make an update to my previous post, and definitely not this soon, but boy does it get interesting. So of course I plan to leave this situation alone at this point and completely put it behind me. However, my former mother-in-law reached out to me as I hadn't spoken to her in a few days, which is quite unlike me. A few people said in a few comments that I should cut her off as well as the ex, but this woman was like a mother to me for almost 10 years. When I was going through difficulties with my own family, this woman opened her home to me, gave me a safe place to stay if I needed She had been more of a parent to me than my own parents and basically adopted me as the daughter that she had always wanted. So when I say we are incredibly close, I genuinely mean it. Regardless of anything that's happened with her son, we have a really strong relationship outside of that. We typically have a good catch-up once a week and message in between. Nothing I say to her gets passed on to her son. From what I can gather, the trickles of information he gets is through the grapevine of the group of friends we mutually share. So when she reached out to see if I was okay yesterday, I decided I'd pop over and catch up with her. Turns out he came clean to her when she asked exactly what had gone on, as she hadn't heard of me in a few days and she was worried. She went absolutely ballistic at him and currently is not speaking to him at all. Then she told me something I did not know and something she assumed I'd known all along. It turns out that when he was born he had undescended testicles. He had the surgery to correct it, but there was always going to be the chance that he would have fertility issues in adulthood. He was meant to go for checkups once he passed puberty age to see whether there was any lasting damage, and he claimed to his mother that he had gone to these and everything was fine, but neither of us actually believed this. So the entire time we discussed having children, he knew there was a possibility that all he was shooting was blanks, but neglected to actually let me know this, for 10 freaking years. Bear in mind we were probably having unprotected sex for 2 years of our relationship. Not actively trying, but we had agreed that if something happened, we'd be happy about it. So I think when we were actively trying to have a baby and nothing was happening, it sort of gave him the mental tip-off that all was not well, and he finally decided to get that checkup he'd been putting off. I'm flabbergasted, guys. In regard to my partner and I's relationship, we are absolutely fine. He's used to my sulky episodes, haha. I did eventually fill him in after a few days of being mildly annoyed, and he agreed that it was super fucked up and agreed with a lot of the comments that his timing for telling me all this was absolutely comical. We did suspect for a while that the real reason he decided to leave was cheating initially, because he'd gotten strangely close to one of the girls in our friend group, the majority of which dropped me like hot shit once we split. Turns out there's nothing going on there, but another little tidbit off my ex's mum that she found out also. Guys, he's dating this girl's 60-year-old mother. Good lord, his life is a dumpster fire. I don't even think I'm mad anymore, just mildly amused. Absolutely done with that. Stories number 24. Aita for refusing to pay my cat sitter. I, 29F, have an 11-year-old calico named Daisy. A year ago, I moved a few hours further from home for work, which came with the issue of needing to find a new sitter. My fiancée, 34M, and I were lucky to find somebody pretty quickly through a pet sitting app, but she ended up being unavailable during the week of our trip. This came up over dinner at my sister's house, and her daughter, my niece, suggested her cousin, Bil's family, Ava, 18F, saying she's been looking for some side jobs to make money before she goes off to college this fall. I contacted Ava and she accepted the job. I invited Ava over a couple days early so she could meet Daisy and get acquainted with the space. The most important detail here is that I emphasized our main rule to not let Daisy out unleashed and unsupervised. I showed Ava the harness and leash I used to take Daisy on walks, explained the risks of letting her out unsupervised, and she seemed to understand. Fiancé and I left on our trip a couple days later thinking all was well. We finally got back yesterday, after a genuinely lovely week, and met Ava as she was finishing up with her last drop-in. During our reunion, I found scratches on Daisy. I asked Ava if she had any idea what happened. At first Ava's story was that she didn't know, and then she admitted it might have happened when they went on a walk. I went to find the harness to see if there was any damage to it, but it was in the exact spot I left it in, along with the leash. I asked Ava point blank if she let Daisy out by herself, and she finally admitted yes, that Daisy wouldn't stop hounding her for food and treats, and that she was yowling so much during a drop-in when she was having a headache that she put her out for a little while she set up the food and cleaned the litter. She then forgot Daisy outside all night. She said she realized when she dropped back in the next morning for a feeding and a walk and Daisy wasn't waiting just inside the door that she remembered she'd put her out, so she tried shaking a bag of Daisy's favorite cat treats, which worked. She's a greedy little cat. I was furious at the point and asked Ava to leave. She asked what about the money, and I told her she wouldn't be getting paid. She got upset and said it wasn't fair to not pay her for an entire week over one mistake, but eventually left. She has texted me an apology since, but I've also received some texts from my BIL, who is mostly taking her side in the issue and saying I should absolutely pay her, but that he would understand if I docked a day off. I told him I'll be putting my money towards a vet visit, which I have an appointment for tomorrow. AIT if I stand my ground here. Edit to clarify a few things. 1. Ava is not a family member of mine. She is my BL's niece, technically step-niece, as his sister is Ava's stepmother. I do not consider her a niece or cousin of mine. Family is not a factor here for me. I didn't know her at all and admit I should have been more cautious about hiring her. BL said she was a very good, responsible kid, and she had done some pet sitting jobs before, so I thought everything would be fine. Won't be making that mistake again. 2. To those suggesting I still pay Ava, but dock the vet bills from her pay, if I do that it will result in her owing me. I do not want to pursue legal action or try to get any money out of Ava. I have told her and BIL this and expressed more than once that the best I will do is compromise and consider us square. I don't pay her, she doesn't pay any of Daisy's vet bills. 3. I know results for certain things won't be available reliable so soon. I will be doing follow-up appointments for further testing and assessments. Stories number 25. I'm worried my 32F husband, 38M, is cheating on me with his 22F, and I don't know what to do. My husband and I have been together for 12 years, married for 9. We have 2 daughters 7F and 4F, and my husband is an elementary school teacher. His current student teacher is actually a student that was in the class he student taught when he was first becoming a teacher, so it's been a really cool full circle thing. She's a really sweet girl, and has come over to our house for dinner. They have become very close, and she's become a huge part of his social life in general, which is mainly made up of teachers at the school, so not too weird. But lately he's just seemed a bit distant. He is totally normal around our kids, but around me just seems kind of off, is always on his phone. He's also finding times to go meet people for drinks, etc. I do know his passcode, and did go snooping in his phone, which I didn't feel good about, but I didn't find anything. But he's really smart, and if he was to cheat I don't think he'd be obvious about it. He has been open about adoring Ava, his student teacher, not her real name, which doesn't bother me, but last time I visited I saw the way she was looking at him and I don't know, she just seemed kind of starstruck, like she was doting on him. And he was definitely entertaining it. It wasn't necessarily flirty, but they were bantering and teasing, and that's very much his love language. But to give him benefit of the doubt, he is like that with other women he's friends with too, it's just how he gets when he's comfortable around people. I feel terrible for thinking he's cheating, especially with a girl who's both his mentee and his former student. He's an amazing husband and father, and when I told one of my friends my worries she said he wasn't the type to cheat. But I just can't shake it and I don't care what to do. Does anyone have any advice? Stories number 26. My husband doesn't know I'm moving out of our room. I'm really not a neat freak. I just want a reasonably clean bed. In the decade plus we've lived together, he has never washed our sheets. If I never did it, it would never get done. I had a major injury a couple years ago and I was quite literally crawling and hopping around the house to get housework done for months. The only thing I asked is that he change and wash our sheets regularly. It didn't happen even once. He lets our kids eat in our bed even though I've asked him not to several times. He's laying on his side of the bed, so the kids, and the crumbs, end up on my side. We recently got a dog and I was very clear before we got it that I just didn't want it in the bed. I thought he would respect that, and I was wrong. It's been here less than a week and it's already been in our bed several times. He kept defending by saying it was only on his side. Well, the dog has been walking around in mud all day today and I just went up to see that it was nice and cozy on my side of the bed. I grabbed my pillow and walked out. Tonight and every night for the foreseeable future, I'll be sleeping in the cold basement. If he's going to insist that it be allowed on the bed, my side of the bed it seems, I don't know if I'll ever go back to sleeping in it. I don't think it's too much to ask to not sleep in crumbs and mud. The worst part is that everyone else in the house has their own space. My husband has an office. Everyone else has their own bedrooms. I don't have one room in this house where I can have dedicated privacy. Sometimes I just hole up in our closet. I'm so sad. I just want some space. Stories number 27. Thinking of stepping down as MOH, her fiancé is making it unbearable. A former colleague, who I'm friendly with but not super close to, asked me to be one of her 2 maids of honor. We've only met around 20 times in 2.5 years, so I was surprised but flattered and saw it as a chance to grow our friendship. Since then, she started calling me her best friend, which feels premature and not mutual. I've met her fiancé a few times and frankly, we don't get along. He gossips, comes off insecure, and has been rude to me and others. He also micromanages everything. As MOHs, we're organizing 3 events, a bachelorette. The civil wedding will follow this year, and the religious one in 2026. The bride initially said she wanted a low-key bachelorette focused on quality time. We kept that in mind. Then her fiancé began making specific demands, private bed-bath for the bride, enough breaks between activities, etc. We adjusted our plans accordingly. Now, 2 weeks out from the bachelorette, he demanded our full itinerary, said it wasn't good enough, and told us to start over. He aggressively messaged the other MOH, said we were denying the bride the weekend she deserves, and insulted one of the girls in the group, calling her a dumb bitch. When we explained we were keeping costs reasonable, at the bride's request, he dismissed our concerns, saying others' financial situations weren't his problem. Bear in mind this man is not working, not earning a living, not paying for anything and especially not their wedding. The irony, we reminded him that both MOH were chosen to plan this and he should trust us. He refused, implying that we're failing as her best friends. I am not excluding the possibility of him doing this and the bride giving him hints or instructions in the background because she is not comfortable with confrontation or saying her mind. I'm burned out. I don't even know why I was chosen in the first place. I want to support the bride, but I can't tolerate this level of disrespect, neither do I want to help plan another 2 bridal events in such a tense atmosphere. My plan is to follow through with the bachelorette, then tell the bride I'm stepping down as MOH. Ideally, I would be uninvited to the wedding, but that will be up to her. Anyone has suggestions on how to approach the situation? TLDR, I was unexpectedly asked to be a MOH by a not-so-close friend. Her fiancé is controlling, aggressive, and has disrespected the bridal party. I'm planning to step down after the bachelorette to protect my peace. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Step down as it makes no sense that a casual friend like you were made MOH. She could have invited you as an ordinary bridesmaid, but that still doesn't make a ton of sense. People think it's such an honor, but you're unpaid labor to make sure someone else enjoys their special day. I think you are showing great restraint by not quitting prior to the bachelorette, but I agree that if you did quit before it'd ruin the event. Reply. We used to work together. I think she made me MOH because she knows I get shit done and well. Someone else in the comments said that she is using me and that starts to resonate. Commenter 2. I don't mean this badly about you at all, but it's telling that she asked someone that she doesn't know that well to be her bridesmaid. I'm wondering if other people said no or dropped out already because of him. I hope she wises up before she marries him. I'd say that it's no longer doable for you to be a bridesmaid, but you'll come as a guest if she'll have you. Give specifics about what he is doing that caused you to come to this decision, and let her know you're here for her if she needs anything. Reply. Agreed, it'll be important to be factual as to my decision and still offer my presence. TBF, after all this I'm not keen on being in his vicinity and would rather not attend the wedding at all, but that will be their call whether or not they decide to keep me as a guest. Commenter 3. What other events are you supposed to plan? The bride and groom are supposed to plan their own events, except bach parties and bridal shower if there is one. Reply. The bride expects our support in planning both the civil and religious weddings, dealing with location, sourcing and coordinating vendors, setting up and taking down decor, organizing surprises for guests. Commenter 4. To be honest, I would screenshot the messages of the groom cursing at you and the other MOH, send them to the bride and tell her you are stepping down and not even wait till the bach. Unless you've already sunk money into it, then I understand waiting. Reply. The money I've already put into it is not worth my peace. Also, he is coming along and I can't stomach a multiple-hour train ride with him. Commenter 5. What do you mean he's coming to the bachelorette party? Like, are they have a dual bachelorette, or is he just coming? Reply. The groom is taking advantage of the situation to visit a friend in the city we're going to. We are traveling together but staying in different accommodations. I don't put it past him to randomly join the bach unannounced though. What's the situation with the rest of the bridal party? The rest of the bridal party is a mixed bag. There are old colleagues, study friends she is not close to, and one is the groom's friend's wife. I can hardly believe that no one in that group is closer to her than I am, except for the other MOH who she's known since childhood and is very close to. I definitely want to let her know that I am still there and she can reach out at any time. I just can't morally support this relationship and this idiot's behavior. Edit. Thanks all for your insights. It was helpful to have my suspicions validated whilst figuring out an exit strategy. It's Monday morning, I've messaged the groom asking him to stop intervening in the planning and to take a step back for the sake of the other MOH. I've also messaged the bride asking to meet tomorrow in person. Update. First, thanks all for your feedback which comforted me and gave me the confidence I needed to step down ASAP. The morning after posting, I messaged the groom asking him to take a step back as he's made me and the other MOH feel uncomfortable. Things escalated, he was being very defensive, listing everything he said did pointing to me being in the wrong instead of finding a way forward and eventually apologized for making me feel uncomfortable. I did not respond to his apology. In parallel, I messaged the bride and we agreed to meet the next day. In the meantime, the groom must have brought it up to the bride as she texted me letting me know she heard things became tense and that we don't all hate each other now, squinting face with tongue. I replied that this is the reason I need to talk to her. The bride and I met up yesterday evening. I told her that I was flattered to have been chosen as MOH, but in hindsight I should not have accepted. I explained that the situation blew out of proportions, and her fiancé crossed a line. He exhibited controlling behavior, and was downright disrespectful. I shared that I can't be in a bridal party if I'm not being treated with respect and if I don't morally support the relationship. I told her that this is not a breakup per se, I still want to be friends with her, but she deserves a MOH who can fully be there for the two of them. I also mentioned that the ball is now in her court as to how our friendship moves forward and if she still wants me there at the wedding. Her reaction was so underwhelming. She was smiling through and saying it's okay. She said that her fiancé talked to her about the situation, mentioning that things escalated. According to her, he was pretty shaken up. No shit, I bet he forgot to mention he instigated all of it. I'm not sure if I expected her to take accountability for her fiancé's actions, but she did not apologize for what he said. Nothing. She seemed so unfazed when I said he disrespected me. She did not ask about the things that were said, did not mention she would speak with him either. This speaks volumes to me. I wouldn't want my friends to feel disrespected by anyone, let alone my spouse. She said she understood my decision and she sort of expected it because she has never been in one bachelorette party that didn't end up in drama. In terms of logistics, she had it all figured out. She asked me not to cancel any hotel room because her fiancé will officially be joining the bachelorette party anyway. He was initially supposed to travel with us but stay in a different accommodation with a friend. Because of the heated situation, she opened up and said she doesn't expect the other MOH to even attend the wedding unless there can be a resolution between her and the groom. I was again flabbergasted. I would have so many questions if two friends would have a problem with my spouse at the same time, and would consider not coming to my wedding because of it. I understand she is marrying this man and decided that her marriage takes precedence over the rest, fair enough, but I would find this suspicious and use it as an opportunity to dig deeper and get to bottom of the situation. I reiterated that I'm there for her, just not in a MOH capacity. We left on good terms, but I wouldn't be surprised if this marks the end of a short-lived friendship. I later called with the other MOH to inform her about my decision. Turns out she has also been thinking of stepping down. It's such a relief to be out of this mess. I'm not great with heavy discussions, so I appreciate every one of you for pushing me to step down and speak to the bride ASAP. Edit. I cancelled the hotel room and let the bride know she would need to book her own rooms. She did not respond, but I later received a notification that her fiancé kicked me and my husband out of the WhatsApp wedding group that served as a save the date for the civil wedding. I later learned that the bride asked the other MOH to step down. She was also uninvited to the wedding. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Sounds like the bride is too comfortable around drama. She isn't curious about the details of how you were treated and also doesn't seem to grasp the gravity of the situation. If I were in her shoes, I would be freaking out and apologizing for my fiancé's behavior, and reconsidering the relationship. Reply. Same. I would want to know exactly what went on and reevaluate. Either she is complacent with his behavior, either she turns a blind eye because she doesn't want to face reality and jeopardize her relationship. Commenter 2. Have you ever considered she already knows everything and just accepts it as being okay? I agree with everything you said, but all her responses tell me is she knows what's going on and just keeps picking him and ignoring the rest. That's at least what it seemed like to me from what you wrote. Reply. Yes, that is certainly likely. Maybe it also makes her feel special that someone is fighting for her and making it look as though he is putting her needs before everything else. Stories number 28. Aita for accusing my mother of wishing she had an abortion. So I, 15F, got into a big argument yesterday with my mom, 30F, and my dad, 34M, took her side, so I am wondering if I was wrong. Pretty much, when my mom was 15, she was an actor. She'd only worked background roles and done commercials by that point, but she was pretty much guaranteed a role in what ended up becoming a really big movie. Like one of the top 20 movies of the year, except she got with my dad and got pregnant and decided to keep me even though the director begged her to abort me. My dad's an EMT and my mom works as a technician at the hospital, so they both make good money, but during the summer, my mom also works at the community theater. This summer, she had both of us join her and it was the happiest I've ever seen her. She's really good at acting and I've seen the movie and I know she would have been way better than the actress that got cast. The actress that replaced her was a bit younger and hasn't really done anything since then. I've looked on IMDb, and my mom's gone on about how she would have been in this movie or that movie. Yesterday night my mom was discussing the actors' strike and she went on a big rant about how the actors are selfish and they don't appreciate the opportunity they have. And then she said she wishes she'd taken that role because then she'd be able to talk about how pointless the strike was, and that made me feel really bad because then she wouldn't have had me. We got into an argument about it and I said she wished she had an abortion and she looked really offended. So when I went to go to the washroom at night I heard my mom crying in her room telling my dad how she always fails to reach out to me. I don't think I was wrong to say that cause what she said really hurt me too. Update. My mom had me, 16F turning 17 this year, when she was a teenager and she was an actor who was set to get a role in a big movie. Pretty much, my mom used somebody in a props department for some show she was on to make her a fake ID. She used that to trick my dad that they were the same age. He's 4 years older and was 19 when they met, so he would go out with her. She got pregnant with me and didn't abort me even though apparently everyone, even the director of the movie, begged her to. I think that's a lie cause she's dramatic all the time. Now, that movie's sequel comes out in 2 months and my mom's been talking about when she was an actor all the time now. She shows photos of herself with the main stars from the last movie to everyone. I mean, she wasn't even in the movie, so it's almost like she's showing off autographs. And then she uses that as an excuse to talk about meeting my dad and how romantic their life is. Like, she's not even telling the truth cause my dad broke up with her when he found out she was 15. They got together 4 years after when my dad let us move in with him because my mom was going to university nearby. I mean, they got court married, but she doesn't tell anybody that. We all had dinner with my friend May's family on Sunday because my mom wanted to meet her stepmother. Her brothers were talking about the movie coming out soon because they were watching its show on Netflix. My mom used that as an excuse to talk about the last movie and how she tricked my dad into being with her. May's stepmom seemed so embarrassed, but mom was just going on like it was the most romantic thing that had ever happened in the whole history of the world. On the ride home, I argued with my mom and she got mad when I said she made dad sound like a creep, and she just said that she loves my dad and everything worked out and she's proud of it and wants to share it. Since then she's tried extra hard to be nice to me. I mean, she made my favorite dinners, has dropped off pizza lunch for me at school, and even talked about Playland season passes for my cousins and Aita. Comments. OOP on thinking her mom was lying about being cast. Thank you. I don't think she's completely lying about the movie. I mean, she has photos with the director and the 2 main stars, but I don't think she was ever actually a part of it. I mean, maybe she would have been if she didn't get pregnant with me. But do you really think I should distance myself from her? Isn't that kind of drastic? Update 2. So, my mom claims that she was going to star in a movie and the only reason she didn't was because she got pregnant with me. It's part of this stupid story that she always tells everyone about how she and my dad got together, and it's literally her changing the truth to try and make it seem romantic. The next movie in that series is coming out really soon, and honestly, my mom's gotten so insufferable about it. My mom's cousin is visiting from China and she's been staying with us while she's here, and I love her, but she keeps teasing my mom about the next movie in that series. And my mom gives in every time and goes on a rant about how unfair that movie is because she reached out to her old manager to try and get invites to the premiere for us and got told she could only get one. I don't even know if my mom's telling the truth because she says I should just believe her and she's shown me enough proof already. Yesterday, my aunt joked about taking her kids to the movie during Children's Day, which is some holiday or something in China, and joked that I should visit them so I'll be able to see it too. That set my mom off again, and I asked her to please just stop talking about the movie because obviously I'm not going to go all the way to China to watch it, and she got mad at me and said it's okay to be passionate about things. Stories number 29. Aita for refusing to do my neighbor's shopping after helping her once, even though she could order online. A couple of weeks ago, my elderly neighbor, let's call her Jean, knocked on my door and asked if I was popping to Tesco anytime soon. I was, so I said I didn't mind grabbing her a few bits. She gave me a short list: milk, bread, rich tea, biscuits, that sort of thing, and I dropped it off later that day. No drama. She gave me the money, I said it was no bother, but then 2 days later she knocked again. Another list. Then again. And again. Now I'm getting shopping lists handed to me 3 times a week, with specific brands, odd requests, and once she even asked if I could swing by Boots to collect her prescription. I finally told her, as politely as I could, that I can't keep doing it. I work full-time, I've got kids, and honestly, I'm shattered most days. I also pointed out that she can order groceries online, Tesco, Sainsbury's, even Iceland do deliveries, and there's a pharmacy just down the road that offers free prescription delivery. She's mobile enough to go into her garden and down the street, so it's not like she's housebound. She got really cold and muttered something about how she thought I was better than the rest of them. Since then, a couple of neighbors have been a bit frosty, so I'm wondering if she's had a moan. I do feel a bit guilty, but Aita for not wanting to be a full-time errand runner when there are perfectly reasonable alternatives. Stories number 30. Aita for telling my dad that if he didn't shape up my mom was going to leave him. I am a 16-year-old girl and my dad is a 57-year-old man. I love my parents a lot, and I am so grateful for all the things they do to provide for me. However, me and my dad have always had a bit of a strange relationship. He is not very good at communicating, and sometimes it feels like I can't talk to him about anything. This does bother me, but the real issue in our house is that my mom does everything. Every day she makes dinner, does the dishes, laundry, etc. On top of this, she recently started remotely working full-time again, and she is currently going back to college to get her master's degree. I do everything I can to help her out, but I can only do so much. My dad works full-time, and that's it. He never does any chores or helps around the house at all. He does work a labor-heavy job, and I understand it's tiring, but he could at least give our dog a bath or make dinner for himself or something. Both me and my mom have said many times that we want him to help around the house, and he always says he will, but he never does anything. He did the dishes a couple times, but he didn't do it thoroughly enough and there was still food on them, so my mom had to rewash them. I've honestly gotten really tired of this, as it's been going on for years. Well, here is where I might be the asshole. This happened 3 days ago. My mom was in class that night, so she hadn't gotten an opportunity to do the laundry yet, and there was a basket of dirty clothes in my parents' room. My dad offhandedly remarked, "Gee, there sure are a lot of dirty clothes laying around." This made me really annoyed. I told him that he was a grown man and if he wanted clean clothes he could do a load of laundry himself. My dad looked surprised at this and told me to calm down. I have a tendency of speaking harshly to people when I'm irritated, and this was unfortunately one of those moments. So I told him that I swear to God, if you don't shape up and start doing some actual work around here, Mom is gonna want a divorce. I knew immediately I shouldn't have said it and he left the room looking really angry. Not sure if it's relevant, but he has been married 2 times before my mom. I told my mom about this and she says that while he should do more work, what I said was really mean and the divorce comment was completely unnecessary. When my dad got home from work the next day I tried to apologize, but he completely ignored me and just went outside. It's been 3 days and he hasn't said a word to me, even though I've tried to say sorry multiple times. My house is now really tense since my dad is also mad at my mom because he thinks she wants to get a divorce. I feel horrible, but honestly, deep down I still agree with the comment I said to him. So, Aita, one of comments. Commenter, info, has your mom actually mentioned to you that she wants to leave your dad? If she hasn't, then the comment you made would be stirring the pot for no reason, which would probably make YTA. Your dad does sound hard to live with though, so I can't really blame you. Reply, yes, my mom has mentioned that she wants to leave him, but she's not in a financial position to do it at the moment. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. As a daughter of a man very similar to the way you described your father, he is using weapon Z incompetence and the silent treatment as manipulation. You weren't out of the realm of possibilities by saying what you said. I know, because after 18 long years my mom finally divorced my dad. It may have sounded harsh to him, but that's because people with no accountability for their actions will always feel attacked. I hate to say it, but it sounds like your mom would be better off without him. As far as the silent treatment goes, it hurts and it's childish and annoying, but the best thing you can do is look straight through him. Play the game back. It won't take long before he's pretending like everything is fine again as he's waited on hand and foot. Neighborhood Tasty 271, turn that weapon of incompetence on him. Set up a rotating or alternating schedule for dish duty. The days after he does the dishes, anything that he didn't get clean is for his meals. Mom and daughter can use paper plates and plasticware those days. But they know the days after they are doing the dishes, they will be eating off of actual dishes. Update post. Hello again. I made a post here about a week ago and I thought it would be nice to give an update on what happened afterwards. The link to my original post is here. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone on my post who commented about their opinions on why I was or wasn't an asshole. Everyone was very kind and you all gave great feedback. The verdict on my post ended up being not the a-hole, though a lot of people said it wasn't my place to speak on behalf of my mom like that. After thinking about it, I agree. My dad was being a jerk, but I really shouldn't have put words in my mom's mouth. Now, for the update. About 2 days after I had posted on here, my parents sat me down and said they wanted to talk. I was prepared to get a lecture about how what I said was out of line, but that's not what happened. Apparently, the reason my dad had gotten so upset at the comment I made was that it hit a little too close to home. It turns out, my dad has been cheating on my mom for about a year with one of his coworkers, and my mom found out a few months ago. The reason she went back to work was because she needed financial independence to get divorced. They said they hadn't been planning on telling me, but my dad decided I was mature enough to know the truth and that I deserved to know. They said they would probably be separated by the end of the year. This situation was completely out of left field, to be honest, because while my dad might not have been the best at doing the dishes, I never thought he would have an affair. My dad has talked to me about how he was so sorry for what he's been doing, and that he hoped I didn't view him differently. I've tried to be kind and not say any more unnecessary comments, but I did let him know that I was really disappointed in him. I needed to get out of the house, so I've been staying with my friend for the past couple of days and processing everything. So, while what I said to him might have been shitty, it resulted in me finding the truth about what was going on, so I'm kind of glad. I'm sorry that this update isn't the happiest or anything, but overall I am doing okay. And thank you again to everyone who commented on my first post, I appreciate it a lot. Sum of comments. Commenter, won't lie, I'm super curious how old OP's mom is. Reply, my mom is 51, turning 52 in a few months. Commenter, I confess, I'm wondering the same thing about OP's dad's side piece. Reply, I have actually met the woman he was cheating with at some of my dad's work events, before I knew what was going on of course, but I am not sure how old she is. If I were to guess I'd say she's in her late 30s. Commenter, this just broke my heart for you honey, just know that you have people who care about you because I know this is so confusing and you have so many emotions. Be brave though for your mom because she's been probably silently struggling inside for a while with this. I just hope for the best for y'all. Much love for you and your family. Reply, thank you very much for your kind words, they are much appreciated. I can only imagine what my mom has been feeling so I've been trying to help her out as much as I can. Commenter, I'm so sorry OP but hopefully this is a great new life for you and your mom. I'm sorry for whatever step monsters he inflicts on you, classic case of can't be single cause he wants a maid I suspect, but did he do the laundry? Reply, thank you so much for the well wishes. And he never ended up doing the laundry. Editor's note, wasn't sure if I should mark this as concluded or ongoing. I went with concluded because the initial fight between OOP and her dad had an answer and resolution. Stories number 31. My boyfriend ate all the pulled pork, so I finished his favorite biscuits. Edit 2, because apparently y'all aren't reading to the end to where edit 1 is, stop assuming you know anything other than this tiny snippet of my life. You literally know nothing about my fiancé other than a couple of times in 13 years he ate some chocolate and some pulled pork just stop. It was a low-stake, silly drama in a solid, long-lasting relationship. Have the decency to trust me when I say that there's nothing malicious about his actions and that you're making a mountain out of it seriously. So, my fiancé can be a little unthinking when it comes to food. He comes from a family where the policy was first come first serve and everyone is a glutton, so if you want to have your share you have to be quick about it. I already had to set a very firm rule about not eating my half of the chocolate bars, and he's usually good about replacing the chocolate anyway. My family is exact opposite. A single chocolate bar could last me up to a month, for example, and my parents always made sure that everyone got their fair share of any treats. This is for context, so you understand that my boyfriend isn't doing this maliciously. My mom had brought us a tub of pulled pork from a specialty, expensive butcher shop, and I had a little bit for dinner, way less than my allotted half. Then my boyfriend had his dinner, we ate at different times last night, I had to go out, and ate all the pulled pork in the tub. I wanted to have some for lunch today, but none remained. And pulled pork in my country isn't a common food, usually you only find it in American-style burger restaurants, so it's not like I could go in any random supermarket and getting some. I was so bummed, so for breakfast I finished the bag of chocolate biscuits that he loves. There weren't many left, just enough for one person. He apologized and promised to check with me if I had my half of any treat we have at home before finishing it. He also said that he deserved my petty revenge. Edit, can everyone please stop insulting my fiancé? He doesn't do this constantly, this is one of maybe 3 instances in a 13 years relationship. Stop telling me not to marry him, or that he's an asshole. We are all inconsiderate from time to time. We're human and sometimes we just don't think and do stupid stuff. It wasn't malicious and he apologized. His apology was genuine and I know he's genuinely sorry about leaving me without the ever-precious pulled pork. Stories number 32. Update, Aita for leaving the weekend friend trip after being made to sleep on the couch. I waited until the weekend to call Josie because I thought we could both use the time to cool off and think about the situation. I spent a few days parsing through your comments. When we finally got on the phone, she was instantly apologetic for how the previous weekend went, but before we went further into the convo I asked her to explain how we ended up where we did. So here are the events as she told it. Her and I made plans in January for me to come visit for this festival. Her husband, Leo, was only interested in like one day's events and wasn't planning on attending with us the rest of the time, so it was mainly a girls' weekend for us. Sometime in March, Leo mentioned the weekend to Shane, his college friend, who showed interest. Josie said it was Leo's idea to invite Shane so he'd have someone to hang out with while her and I were busy with our plans. Josie and Leo told me at this point that Shane would be there for the weekend, too. And then I guess a couple of days after that, Sarah, in the same college friend group, heard about the event from Shane and her husband decided to go as well. Josie at this point told me that their friend Sarah would also be in town for the festival. She did not tell me Sarah was planning on staying at their house because they had originally planned on getting a hotel. Somewhere between Shane being added and the festival weekend, Shane proposed to his now fiancée and then requested she be added to the trip. The Monday before the trip, Sarah and her husband called that they couldn't find an affordable hotel and asked if they could stay with Josie and Leo. When I asked Josie why she didn't just update me on the plans, she said she was feeling overwhelmed by all of the changes and worried that if I knew I'd be now sleeping on the couch, I wouldn't come. She claimed that her and Leo looked for hotels for me but also couldn't find anything affordable. She said she felt bad, she understood why I left but she wished that I hadn't, and that she spent the entire weekend feeling awful. So, she did apologize, and I also apologized for leaving abruptly without talking it out. I also felt very overwhelmed by the situation, especially because I barely know Shane and Sarah, let alone their partners. That's the simplified version of that problem. Now, I also asked why they hadn't thought to invite Oliver. I said that I understood plans changed pretty fast, but there was a decent chunk of time where she knew all the couples would at least be at the festival, and she could have at least extended the invite. I said I wasn't buying the excuse that they forgot, especially since she just explained she was kind of purposefully keeping me in the dark in the hopes I wouldn't cancel. Josie admitted that the last time all four of us were together, which was last September, Oliver made a pass at Leo that made Leo really uncomfortable. It was a night we had all been out drinking, and according to Leo, somehow the conversation got around to the topic of Oliver's sexuality. He's bi, and Leo made a comment about never having any sexual interaction men, to which Oliver responded, well, if you ever want to change that, let me know. I got off the phone to talk to Oliver. I know that he would never cheat on me and that he probably meant it as a joke. Oliver said he remembered the night and said it was just a joke because he could tell Leo was uncomfortable with Oliver's past dating men, and that he didn't think Leo took him seriously. He offered to call Leo and smooth it over himself, but I told him to hold off because I didn't want to make the situation worse. I just told Josie privately that Oliver didn't mean to make Leo uncomfortable and that he was sorry, and she said she'd tell Leo that. So, Josie and I are okay, even if things are still a little tense. I genuinely don't know what to do about the Leo-Oliver situation other than let it smooth over with time. I only see Josie 3 to 4 times a year, and Oliver sees them maybe 1 to 2 times a year, so hopefully the next time we all want to do something it can just be forgotten. Stories number 33. Aita for refusing to give my former son a second chance. I, 48M, find out my ex, 49F, had cheated on me and that the 2 children she had given birth to, 23F and 21M, only one, the girl, was mine. I filed for divorce and my ex tried for reconciliation, but I couldn't live with so much doubt. Once we got to court, it was like a switch had flipped and she tried to keep me from the children. It didn't work though. I had really good lawyers. In spite of everything, I was willing to still be a father to Noah, fake name, but my ex can be very manipulative. She told Noah about his real dad and even introduced them. Since then I became strict fake dad while he was cool real dad. When Noah was 13, he told me that he no longer wanted to see me and that he'd tell a judge the same thing if I forced visitation. I asked him why and if I ever made him feel bad. Noah just said that he wanted to spend more time with his real dad and didn't like my house rules. I was heartbroken, but I let him go and still made attempts to keep the relationship. I called, texted, sent presents and even invited him to events. Noah wouldn't respond or pass small messages to his sister. When Noah was 18, he legally changed his surname to his father's and told me there wasn't enough room for me to attend his graduation. After that I gave up and resolved myself to live life with being a father to my daughter and son, 12M, via my second wife. Recently, Noah reached out to me and apologized for his past actions and wanted a relationship again. I was surprised and heavily skeptical, and was right to be so. Apparently, Noah's real dad got married and his wife gave him an ultimatum and he chose her. I told Noah that while I am sorry for what happened to him, I had no interest in being treated like an old pair of gloves that you only think about and wear when it gets cold. My ex thinks I'm being hurtful and petty, rich coming from her, and my daughter says that she understands my pain but hopes that I can learn to give Noah a second chance. I just don't know, because I'm in a place where I'm fine not having Noah in my life or having any communication with him, and I don't want to rekindle a relationship just for him to drop me again when his real dad changes his mind. Aita. Relevant comments. NTA. While I completely understand everyone else's reasoning, I feel many are missing the most important point. Noah did not reach out because he saw the error of his ways, saw how his mother manipulated him against you. No, Noah is reaching out because his real dad tossed him aside. While it is certainly possible that event opened Noah's eyes, as outsiders it's easy to just say forgive him, he's just a kid. Being the person hurt, it's not so easy to just do it when the event is making you feel like a backup plan in any kind of relationship, much less a father-son one. Having said that, while I wouldn't blame you for not accepting him at all, the most respectful thing, for everyone involved, would be to let the initial shock anger subside, then arrange a meet-up and talk to him. During that conversation, hear him out and figure out for yourself, is Noah reaching out because this opened his eyes, or is it out of anger and resentment at his real dad and using you as a replacement? Reply. I feel like I'm just a replacement, or worse, a holder until his real dad changes his mind. Commenter 2. Do you think you could ask him what he would do if that happened? Reply. I have thought about asking him that, but I honestly do think I would believe him if he told me he was genuinely sorry and would still want a relationship with me regardless of whether his dad was in the picture or not. The name change was a big gesture against me. Commenter 3. NTA. He's already 21 years old, he had plenty of time to reconnect with you but chose to do it now because his dad dropped him. His mom may have manipulated him when he was a kid but he had plenty enough time to realize that when he became an adult. Also, I don't get why his dad's wife would give his dad an ultimatum. He's an adult, why an ultimatum was needed? Does he live with his dad? His dad paying for his expenses? If it's about money, then, sorry to say but is only trying to reconnect with you because of the money. Don't let anyone guilt trip you. Stay firm to what you want. Reply, I honestly don't know why his dad was given an ultimatum. He literally stopped talking to me, directly, when he was a teen and then ceased all other form of contact once he was 18. He had to ask my daughter for my phone number. Commenter 5. Your son, because he is your son, he was for more than half of his life, you were in the hospital on the day he was born, you changed his diapers, you're his dad, like it or not slightly smiling face, was a middle schooler when he decided to cut you out of his life. I think maybe your interpretation of his motivations may not be correct. There's a pretty strong chance that when he saw that his bio dad would think nothing of giving up his relationship with him for a girl, it reminded him of the dad who never stopped trying to love him, even when he didn't really want that love and made him realize what he'd lost. At 21, he's still very young and it sounds like he wants his dad back. Sure, it could end in the two of you yelling at each other and never speaking again, but there is also a very significant chance that this could be the start of rekindling a relationship. I don't think there would ever be a situation where you would say, oh damn, I wish I hadn't reconnected with my long-lost son. You're lucky in that it's only been 8 years. It will be much harder to reconnect if you reject him now, just like his bio dad did, and decide when he's 40 you'd actually like him in your life. I think it's fair to say that if the vast majority of 7th grade boys had a choice between a rules and stability dad or a fun no rules dad, they'd pick the second one. Of course it hurt you, but I don't think it reveals some great moral failing of his. He was a young person grappling with the very traumatic fact that his identity changed when it came out that half of his DNA came from a completely different person than he thought. Of the people who were traumatized by this paternity revelation, I would think his trauma would be equal to or even worse than yours, particularly since he was so young when it happened. So why WBTA for missing out on a chance to get your son back? And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, but at least you'll know. Reply, Noah stopped thinking of me as his dad long before I stopped considering my son. So I want to ask, can two people still be considered family if they stop treating each other as family and there's no blood relation? Commenter 6. Of course they can. People choose their family all the time. My daughter still calls my ex-husband dad, even though he's technically no longer her stepdad, and she has a relationship with her bio dad. There's always room for more love. There's a lot of hurt on both sides of your situation, so reconciliation won't be exactly easy, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Reply, but again, Noah chose to reject me, and I eventually got tired of being rejected and stopped thinking of him in that way. He's choosing me when it seems like he can't try for anyone else and I don't choose that. You mention your daughter, but she did at any point stopped calling your ex-dad and then changed her mind later? Is her bio dad involved in any way, and if he was, would she still be calling your ex-dad? Edit for info, just to be clear because I keep seeing this. I divorced my ex. Noah was 6. My ex told Noah the truth about his parentage when he was 10 and his real dad came into his life at around 12. This all didn't just happen when he was 13. By the time he reached that age he already had at least a year to process the inform. When I asked my daughter, since Noah wasn't talking to me, if she thought her mom was pushing Noah to say those things, she said no. Apparently, Noah wanted to spend time with his dad, but because of his work schedule it wasn't always often, but when it could happen it was conveniently during my scheduled time with Noah. I tried to see if we could work something out, but my ex and Noah refused any compromise. Update. First, I just wanted to say thank you to all the messages and comments in support. It really feel nice to have my feelings validated. After a lot of thought I decided to follow my wife's advice, write an actual letter to Noah regardless of whether or not I intended to send it. I explained to Noah how much he hurt me by refusing to see me, never inviting me to important events in his life, not wanting to meet or spend time with my son, via my new wife, and how legally changing his surname cut deep. I also wrote that in spite of everything I still didn't take any pleasure in hearing about his father's rejection of him, as I understand how hurtful that can be. I said that even though I knew he was young I was still angry over what he did, and a part of me felt resentful towards all the time, love and money I spent on him when I technically didn't have to. This letter felt very cleansing and I read it a couple of times before burning it. In the end I decided to reach out to Noah and ask my daughter for his new number. He changed it when he was 19 and didn't give me his new one. I sent Noah a message reiterating how sorry I was at how his father treated, but I was hurt how it felt like I was being treated as a last resort, and the circumstances of his desire to reconnect doesn't make me trust the relationship. I told him that I was willing to have some type of relationship with him again, but only under these specific guidelines. Don't call me dad or refer to me as father in any way. We can readdress this in the future, but right now it honestly feels too soon. Don't ever ask me for money. Cosigns for anything either. I'm not gonna be his personal ATM for any reason. You invite me to your things, I'll invite you to mine. He's free to complain or talk about his bio dad with or around me, but he needs to understand that I have no kind words for that man and will either say negative things or nothing at all. I expect him to be nice to my son and new wife, and treat them with respect. Don't go running to your mom in regards to information about my wife or son's lives, as it's none of her business. Don't go running to your mother or sister for any problems you have with me. We either talk about man to man or find someone else. I don't want them trying to put themselves into our business. He needs to understand that going forward our relationship, if we continue to pursue one, is going to be different and will take more work on his end than mine, as he is less of a priority to me now that he's an adult. When I die, the majority of my assets will be split between his sister and my son through my current wife, and he will only be left the minimum requirement for him to not have grounds to sue. Again, I'm not gonna be his cash cow. The rest of you can agree or disagree, but these are my terms if Noah wants any type of direct communication with me going forward, as this is the only way that I feel comfortable and how I believe I can protect myself if Noah ever becomes hurtful. This will also be his last chance, and if he disappoints me again, then I am prepared to wash my hands of him, because I have more to live for than just waiting to be loved by someone. Stories number 34. Aita for calling the ambulance for my coworker even though I know she was kind of faking it. I, 28M, am working in an English language center in a Southeast Asian country. There's a female coworker in her 20s here who often touches her head and wobbles like she was about to faint, and she would lie down on the couch, letting people fan her, bring water and food to her. We take midday naps here, so whenever she does this, everyone's lunch and nap time is ruined, especially the ones who keep caring for her. This would happen at least twice a month, so over the last 5 or 6 months, I've seen a few incidents when we worked the same shift. One time she even asked me to order ice cream for her. Info: it's a big, crowded city, so you can just walk to the ice cream shop nearby to grab one for $1. Didn't pay me back, but that's beside the point. This Monday, she did it again, and this time she asked a girl to order her an iced drink, a sandwich. A group of coworkers fanned her, did the whole caring thing like she's a sick child. I stood up from my chair, walked towards her, asked if she was okay, then I went to the men's washroom, dialed for an ambulance and went back to my seat. After 20 minutes, we heard the siren, my phone rang again, and I stood up and told her servants to help her to the ambulance. Her face changed, you know, that face, when someone knows they've get up. Other girls asked if I called, I said yeah, it seems more severe this time. It's best for her to go. The ambulance is here already, you'll have to pay for it regardless. The ambulance fee is about 1 to 2 days worth of her salary, $50. Other co-workers actually agreed and helped her get on the ambulance. Now that I think of it, no one called an ambulance for her once. Ever since that incident, she stopped interacting with me beyond highs and hellos. Thursday now, not a word to me. Aita for this. Stories number 35. I've been secretly leaving groceries on my neighbor's porch every week for the past 6 months. She thinks it's an angel. Every Sunday night, I leave 2 bags of groceries at the door of the elderly woman who lives 2 houses down from me. She's sweet, quiet, and lives alone since her husband passed last year. I overheard her in the grocery store once saying she was skipping meals to make rent. That night broke me, so I started small. Bread, milk, a few veggies. Then I added more, eggs, fruit, even her favorite cookies. I asked her once in casual conversation what she liked most from her husband's baking. I always wear a hoodie and go after 10 p.m. when she's already in bed. She doesn't know it's me. Last week I heard her tell another neighbor, I think God sends someone to look after me. I call them my grocery angel. I'm not religious, but hearing that made me cry in my car for like 10 minutes. I'm not doing this for recognition. I just know what it's like to be forgotten and alone. I don't need praise. I just needed to say this out loud. I'm the grocery angel and I'll keep showing up every Sunday. Stories number 36. Aita for ruining my mom's happy ending. My 14F dad was a great man and father. He was the person I loved most in the entire world, and I will never stop missing him. I miss how he'd always, without fail, wake up every time I had a nightmare, and sit with me in the hammock on the back deck, and we'd both have hot chocolate and he'd make me feel safe and then sing me to sleep. I miss how he would put me on one shoulder and my sister on the other when we went to shows and couldn't see, and just stay like that the whole time. I miss taking mini getaways randomly, getting picked up from school and just spending a weekend at Great Wolf Lodge or a day at Six Flags. I miss how he would always take my side and make me feel like nothing I could do would ever make him love me less. My dad died 2 years ago, and I found out that my mom never loved him. She married him because her parents said they'd cut her off if she married the man she actually loved. She wasn't willing to go live in the ghetto with him, I guess, so she married my dad instead. When he was diagnosed with leukemia, she started talking to the other guy again. They were married 2 days after the anniversary of my dad's death. During all this they wouldn't let any of our grandparents see us. They were gonna sell our house and move across the country, but thank God my dad had the house put in a trust for me and my brother, 12M, and sister, 13F, so they couldn't just take us away. I hate this guy with all my heart. I'm pretty sure he hates me too. I told my mom I wouldn't forgive her for marrying him, and she did it anyway. I've been grounded for the last year pretty much because I refuse to listen to his rules or eat with him or anything like that, but I just get off the bus before my stop after school and hang out with friends anyway. Apparently my grandparents have been fighting for custody ever since my dad died, and my mom just didn't tell us until we had to go into court. She basically said she'd never ground me again if I just said nice things about her and the guy, but I didn't, and I told my siblings I'd never forgive them if they did, so it didn't go well for her. Now it looks like she's gonna lose custody, and if that happens she loses the house and access to our trusts, so she's freaking out. It's not like she'd lose everything, but she probably would have to move somewhere less nice and raise her new baby without the stuff she wanted. She keeps saying that she deserves to be happy, and that everyone's racist and we're ruining her happy ending with the man she loves. I think she can love him just as easily in a bad neighborhood shopping at Walmart. Love conquers all, right? She says it's not about that, but yeah, right. TLDR, my mom remarried the guy she really loves after my father died, so I did my best to help my grandparents get custody. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I hope you get to live with your grandparents. Sometimes you get stuck with a shit parent and it's sad and awful, but it doesn't have to define who you become. You deserve better behavior from your mom, and I hope she realizes that soon. Reply, I don't think she'll ever realize it. She's been convinced since she was barely older than me that she's a victim, and I guess she thinks that now she's owed a happily ever after, no matter who she hurts in the process. Is the new guy the same race as OOP and her family? Reply, we're white, new guy is black. OOP is being blamed regarding the new guy's race and explains about his background. Reply, he was living in the ghetto. That's the truth. I'm not saying that any of what he is has anything to do with being black, because it doesn't. He did live in the ghetto before he barged into our home, he did shop at Walmart, and this specific guy, not black people as a whole but this specific guy, sucks. Does OOP's mother expect her and her siblings to take care of her new baby? Reply, I think she was hoping my brother and sister would get attached to the baby and want to make sure it was taken care of. Can OOP's grandparents get the custody of her and her 2 siblings? Reply, I think they're gonna. My mom's really scared, which is a good sign. I'm in family therapy, but it sucks, and I'm actually reporting the therapist based off some advice I got when I first posted. OOP gives more details about the new guy and his behavior. Reply, no means no means no. I literally got the phone I'm on now from a friend who happens to be black after new guy took mine away. I don't like new guy for a lot of reasons, but the top few are that he tries to make me do the cooking and cleaning to the point where my grades were suffering until I stopped coming home after school. He can't hold a conversation and gets pissed off when I don't understand what he's saying. He yells everything. He barged into my dad's house and sits in my dad's chair and sleeps in my dad's bed and spends my dad's money. He cut me off from my grandparents. He has had me grounded since 2 days. After he married my mom, and he's a piece of trash. Has OOP's schooling been affected? Reply, I'm a straight A student usually. My grades dropped a bit when new guy first moved in and started punishing me before I figured out that I could just not go home and do my homework at a friend's house, but otherwise I'm a good student. Update. Hi everyone. I wanted to give an update because I just got my computer and phone back, and I have internet access again. It feels so great to be able to just sit on my computer in the living room and not have to worry about anyone coming in to yell at me or take something away or try to force me to work for them. I can't believe how amazing it feels. My grandparents managed to get custody of us a few days ago, right before Christmas. What I said and what I had my siblings say really helped their case, and apparently new guy was doing something with the trusts that wasn't super legal, but I don't know all the details. He's not going to jail like I hoped when I found out, but he is in some trouble. I mean, I thought after he took everything from me and tried to lock me up in a room, him going to jail would be like karma doing its thing, but I'm just so happy he's gone that I don't really even care. Mom still has visitation, and we see her every weekend, but new guy is not allowed to come. She called me a lot of names when she found out everything my siblings and I said, but honestly, I don't care. I do care a little that new guy broke some of the things my dad gave me, but I don't think I'd ever have gotten those back, and I got him out of my dad's house, which is the most important thing. If my mom wants to swim in the mud, she can do it somewhere else. Maybe someday we'll be okay again, but for now, she blew it. Our grandparents moved in over Christmas break, and we just got most of my stuff back by court order this morning, which is why I have my computer. I also got back most of my dolls and clothes and stuffed animals, and all my important paperwork like birth certificate and social security card. Some of my jewelry and 2 of my dolls were missing, and apparently new guy destroyed them as revenge. I think he might have pawned them, but I can't prove that. But the most important stuff is all back. My grandparents spoke to my school and petitioned for late enrollment in some stuff next semester, so starting after break I will be back in cheerleading, pending tryout, and taking the college English class I couldn't take last semester. Dance club is less formal, and gymnastics class isn't through school, so those weren't hard to get back into either, but my old modeling agency did end up dropping me after everything that happened, so that's not great. My grandma says that we'll figure out finding new representation after the break, and in the meantime she's going to help me study up for this amazing summer program whose director she knows that will prepare me for a pre-law course. It's pretty much everything I could have hoped for. She doesn't super approve of the pageants, so I still can't do those, but pretty much everything else is going to go back to normal. Here's my favorite part of the update: new guy and co did end up moving to the ghetto. I don't know if they shop at Walmart yet, but I found out their address, and it's in this crappy old apartment building over a convenience store. He's exactly back where he belongs, and I know it's probably a little mean, but I feel very satisfied knowing that he'll never get another taste of what he didn't deserve in the first place. I never have to see him again, and I might have to see the baby eventually, but it sure won't be stealing from us anymore either. Oh, and I'm turning 15 next month. My grandpa says he'll start teaching me to drive. Basically, this was the best Christmas ever, and yeah, thank you guys for the support, it really helped me through everything. TLDR, my grandparents won and things are awesome. Relevant comments. OOP must be relieved that she's safe now. Reply, I mean it was a long and really drawn out legal battle, so not exactly a plot twist, but yeah. I'm just really happy to feel safe again, thank you. It's really nice, honestly. It's like I've been running for a year and a half and now I just get to sleep. I forgot what it felt like to have a place that was mine. Commenter 1, if someone has all your personal details, it is possible for that person to apply for a credit card in your name, and they might end up actually getting the credit card. This is called identity theft and it's illegal. With a credit card, you buy something now, and a debt is added to the card that you can pay down over time. Sometimes the people who get credit cards this way intend to pay back the debts, and the reason they're doing it is because they can't get a credit card in their own name. Sometimes the reason they're doing it is basically to steal money, by racking up these debts in your name and never paying them back. Either way, you don't want this to happen to you, or if an untrustworthy person has enough of your personal details, there's a risk they could do this to you. A credit freeze can reduce the risk of this kind of identity theft by making it harder for someone else to be approved for a credit card in your name. In the USA, what you need to do is ask 3 specific companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, to freeze your credit. This page has links to the 3 websites for those companies that tell you how to do that. Reply, thank you, I'll talk to my grandparents. OOP expresses her gratitude for her grandparents. Reply, they're the greatest. They've really protected our family, and it's amazing because I was scared that, being my mom's parents, they'd take her side over ours, but they've really come through. I guess it's true that family is the people who love you, not just blood. And she chose what to love. Update 2, I got my dolls back. Per my last post, new guy and my mom said they broke 2 of my dolls. Well, guess what were found today in a pawn shop 3 towns over? I know they're mine because the bigger one, Millie, had my name on the bottom of her shoe. Her hair is a mess, looks like it was maybe cut, and the Barbie was clearly not stored properly either, but I have them back. I talked to my grandparents about freezing credit and they said not to worry about that because they have some kind of tracker alert thing and they'll go to the police if anyone tries to take out a credit card in my name, so yay. I don't know, I don't really get how it works. Visits with my mom have been weird, to say the least. She doesn't really look like how she used to, and she always smells weird. She cut off her hair and dyed it half green. She never really wants to talk to me, just to my younger brother and sister, so I usually spend most of the visit reading a book and keeping track of anything crazy she says so I can tell my grandparents. I don't think she loves me at all anymore, but that's fine, because she never loved my dad and so I'm in excellent company. I wish we didn't have to see her, but it's a legal thing. She always calls me my full name these days and she never used to, like if I said my name was Valerie she'd call me Vals or Valley or something, but now it's Valerie. My name isn't actually Valerie, but you know what I mean. My birthday sucked a little bit though. She wanted to come and bring new guy and new guy's baby, and I said no to them, so she didn't show up. I did cry about that, which was silly, but I guess it just felt like a bigger deal than it really was. I don't know why I was upset about it. She's not my mom anymore, and if she did show up it would have been the smelly green hair version, so it's for the best and next time I won't invite her at all. I got a car though, which is cool, cause I have my learner's permit now. My grandpa's been teaching me to drive, and I've only had one minor fender bender so far. I'm really glad to have my dolls back. My dad got them for me, and I really loved especially the Millie doll. She's from this book series I read as a kid and she's special to me. I have to wash her, and at least attempt to wash the Barbie, because they both smell awful right now, but I'm just glad he didn't succeed in taking them from me forever. The jewelry is still missing, but I don't mind as much. Oh, and my grades are back to straight A's. I made the cheer team, and I love the college class I'm taking. It's the coolest thing ever. So, that's the update I guess. Thanks for everyone supporting me so much through this. Love, TLDR, got my dolls back. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, well it sounds good. Sounds like your mom's using drugs now though, especially if she smells funny all the time. Hopefully she's not going down that rabbit hole, but not your problem. Hopefully CPS will keep an eye on her since she has a newborn. Sounds like you're doing well, keep up the good work and stay well grounded. Sounds like you have some great grandparents. Reply, CPS doesn't really care about drugs, they're actually legal in our state, but whatever, as long as my brother and sister don't get involved I don't really care about the baby. Like it's sad but also not really my business when I have my family to worry about. Commenter 2, great update. Focus on your future. Don't let your mom take that away from you. Reply, I'm doing everything I can. Finding a new modeling agency has been hell, but that's really the last of what she's taken from me. That and the jewelry. I'll update if I ever get the jewelry back. Commenter 3, I'm glad that you have the grandparents you have and had the dad you had. He clearly had you and your siblings in mind when he put the house in your names and created a trust for you guys. As for the crying about your birthday, your hormones are changing. Not to mention she still was your mom your entire life before all of this. It's understandable that you were upset. Just don't get mad at yourself for being upset. Congratulations on everything, especially finding the dolls. Good luck in the future, you got this. You're gonna do great things. Oh, my dad knew about new guy before he died. He actually warned me about him, and told me to keep myself and my siblings from being influenced. I hope, wherever he is, he's proud of me. Welcome back home Millie and Bubbles. Relevant comments. Commenter, congrats. What type of doll is the larger one? It looks like an American Girl doll to me, in which case you should be able to pay them to reroute the hair that got cut and they'll offer plenty of tips for freshening her up. Editing in that I actually have a fair amount of personal experience cleaning vinyl dolls, so I'd be happy to help too. I would just want to know exactly which dolls they are first so I'd know what materials they're made of. Reply, she's a Breezy Point Treasures doll, from the Elsie Dinsmore collection. Her name is Millie Keith. They're like, I guess a lot like American Girl dolls but for Christians. She came with like 8 books, like an American Girl doll, but they were longer and went up until she grew up and got married and she was a mom for the last few. I loved those books.